Guys, we are having so much fun over at patreon.com/RussoCoonTWC. Now, what's a Patreon? Just for a couple bucks a month, you get all kinds of bonus content. The show you're about to listen to, our patrons got it 4 or 5 days early and almost an hour longer. Plus, Nitro watch-alongs of Vince Russo's run, Raw Attitude Era watch-alongs, plus more bonus content, and depending on the level, calls from Vince, shout-outs, by the way, we're going to start those again next week, as well as follows on Twitter, and so much more. Free merch. Just go over to patreon.com/RussoCoonTWC. Support our show, because as you know, we are stuck outside the wrestling bubble, so ain't no one gonna do it but you. Thank you all. Patreon.com/RussoCoonTWC. If you're a patron of Truth with Consequences, you're not hearing this commercial or any other commercial. Welcome to Truth with Consequences. Vince Russo. Last week, I think, was our most fun show. We laughed. We had a good time. You took everything in good humor. It was a different kind of show for us, but our most successful show ever. Did you enjoy doing it last week?
Yeah, Matt, let's be honest up top. I enjoy doing it, but Matt, then you have those people that, okay, let's take it further now. Let's go through every single show that Vince Russo ever did, and let's see exactly how many pole matches. I mean, that's what I mean about, bro. That's when it gets freaking ridiculous. That's when it gets, bro, like you guys literally got issues. If you're gonna go through everything I did in my career, pull out all the pole matches on such and such a date, I mean, stop already. So Matt, I did the math. And let's put it to bed once and for all. Okay, bro? I did the math. Okay? When I was at WCW, there were about 7 pole matches. Okay, bro. So what is a pole match? What a pole match is you get to use a weapon in the match. That's what it is. It legally allows you to use a weapon. That's the idea of a pole match. Vince Russo did not come up with the pole match. Vince Russo did not invent pole matches. There were pole matches long before Vince Russo.
But I'll tell you what, I'm going to put this stuff towards the end so that we can get right to our subject. Vince, you were talking about the pole matches, and today we're going to talk about how the pole matches and everything else resulted in it's your fault, killing WCW. Now, the reason I wanted to do this subject this week is because Dave Meltzer, he just can't help himself. He was good for a while, and then he just can't help himself. He's got to say Vince Russo and Eric Bischoff, he said, bankrupted an industry. He said you guys ruined an industry. You guys ruined an industry. And so, I took him to task a little bit. I think he has me muted now because he can't argue with me. Let's talk about WCW, Vince's plan to destroy WCW. So let's get it right away. Let's go ahead and break the news right away. It was on purpose. Vince McMahon sent you down to WCW to ruin WCW on purpose. That is correct, right?
That is 100% correct. Let the truth be known. Vince McMahon sent me to WCW to destroy WCW from the inside.
So that is something that's go on. Tell me more about it. Actually, go ahead.
Bro. Listen, guys. Anybody who wants to know whatever. Listen, guys. You want to know about Dave Meltzer? Go to russosbrand.com. The last episode of Castrating the Marks, when this goofball is over in New Japan watching WrestlePalooza, whatever the hell. I don't give a shit what they call it. Okay, bro? And when you hear his remarks on the show, I swear to God, you would think it's a 12-year-old child. Freaking Dave Meltzer. We have a clip of Dave Meltzer getting so excited because a guy lifts up his knees with another guy coming off the top rope at the very last second, and Dave Meltzer never saw it coming. Okay, bro? This is the guy This is the freaking guy who looks at wrestling like a child, like he's 10 years old. This is the guy trying to tell you a freaking writer. A writer, bro, cost Ted Turner, WCW, TBS, Turner Sports, millions and millions of dollars. The writer of a freaking show. If that right there gives this guy no credibility, I don't know what the – do you know how asinine that statement is, bro? That a freaking writer bankrupted a freaking company, bro?
Let's take a look at that. So in talking about the death of WCW, and I'm not going to promote the book, but this is a book called Death of WCW. But in the belief among the writers, among the Bruce Mitchells, among the Brian Alvarez's and the Dave Meltzers, is that the on-screen product, the programs, so to speak, the angles, so to speak, the characters, so to speak, that you came up with was completely overcame any other any other factor to become a primary factor in why WCW went out of business. How do you respond?
Bro, here's how I respond. And again, bro, what is the point of how I respond, Matt? Because they never want to look at numbers and they never want to look at facts. So it doesn't matter. This isn't my opinion versus their opinion. There are numbers and facts out there. This is why you can't have the conversation with them. This is why they won't come on the show, because once numbers are presented, their case is dead in the water.
Well,
okay,
fuck the conversation. This is you and me talking, and I'm someone who's not gonna, I'm not gonna just sign on to what you say just because you're Vince Russo. So I'm gonna listen to you, and I want you to tell me that specific criticism that the on-screen product helped ruin WCW. Me and Ed Ferrara go to WCW with a game plan. We have a plan. We know exactly what we want to do. There was nothing going on at WCW at the time. There was no hot angles. Goldberg, was way past, his popularity. There was nothing. NWO was played into the ground. There was nothing going on. Much like WWE today, there was nothing going on. So me and Ed know exactly what we're walking into. We know what we're dealing with. We have a game plan. We know what we want to do. That game plan is laid out before they offer us contracts. Okay. So hold on a second, real quick. And we have talked about this on our Patreon. So I think sometimes you and I know I do, I get confused what we talked about on the Patreon and what we talked about on the show. But I don't think we've talked about this on the show. The game plan it was a great plan, Vince. From my standpoint, as a fan, as a Mark who likes wrestling, I thought it was great. You take all these older guys, you create angles to get them off screen, and they come back like the freaking Avengers. That's your pitch that you made, right?
Well, man, this is where all the Alvarez, Mitchell, every one of them, this is why they are marks. And if you don't like it, F off, bro. If you don't want to be called like a mark, don't act like a mark. Let's get to the beginning of it, Matt. Let's talk about business. That's what these guys don't understand. They don't understand the business end of it. Here's really the core of it, Matt. WCW is now signing our checks. They are our employers. So I know, like, my responsibility is to them. They're paying me. My responsibility is to them. When we walked in, they still had all the guys who were past their prime on top. Okay, bro, I remember watching a match between Hogan and Flair a couple of weeks before I got there. They embarrassed both guys, bro, because Hogan and Flair are not main eventers at that time. They've got to be put in more suitable roles. So my point is, bro, they've got all the guys past their prime on top because these guys are cock blocking the younger guys. Bro, from a business point of view, Matt, for the good of the company, bro. Okay, bro? For the good of the company, we need to bring up the younger guys because there's no future. There's no future there, bro. There are no younger guys that are getting over. There isn't the next Kevin Nash and Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair. Those guys don't exist because the guys up top were cock blocking them. So from a business point of view, for the good of the company, we need to get this mid-card up top. We need to produce these younger guys, create new stars so that WCW will be able to go on. That was a 100% business decision. So that's what we know we need to do from day one.
So what the plan was, as I laid out, it was an Avengers type plan. Was that, did you lay out a business plan or creative plan?
Oh, no, not business. Not business at all. We told them what we felt we needed to do creatively to bring the company back to prominence. We're walking in the door, bro. The company's in the freaking toilet. Eric Bischoff was let go. WWE is now killing them in the ratings. They have nothing going on. We are brought back in. We're brought back in, bro, to rebuild. It's like any professional team, bro, that has a losing season and okay, bro, we got to rebuild to get back to prominence. We were brought in to rebuild, and we laid out our creative plan to rebuild the company. Now, bro, here's what they don't want to talk about. In the first 3 months, we were, and bro, let me make another thing. Here's another thing. Let's address the Meltzes of the world. Bro, in the first 3 months, anybody can see it. We were slowly but surely building the ratings back up. The numbers are there, guys. Okay, this isn't my word against theirs. Anybody can do the research. The numbers were. So when you bring that up to Meltzer and Alvarez and this and that, you know what they'll tell you, bro? They'll tell you, oh, yeah, well, the TV numbers may have been up the first 3 months, but the pay-per-view numbers were in the shitter. Well, bro, that's for a couple of reasons. The pay-per-view numbers are in the shitter because the company was in a nosedive since January. If you've got to choose between the WWE and WCW at this point to watch one pay-per-view, you're going to watch the WWE. Number two, bro, we didn't give a shit about the pay-per-view. We needed to rebuild. We needed to build the entire product back up. If we would have built the television back up, then the pay-per-view audience would have followed. You can look at the numbers. There was a nosedive from January. Bro, we didn't start writing till October.
Let's talk numbers. So you're saying there was a nosedive from January, and Meltzer says that you're responsible for the buy rates. As far as I know, Fall Brawl 1999, September 12th, that is not a pay-per-view you had anything to do with. Is that true?
Not only did I have nothing to do with Fall Brawl, but Halloween Havoc was already written.
Let's talk about those, because I think sometimes, because you get so fired up because you've been so shit upon by some of these people, I think sometimes you don't make the case as good as they can be made just by the numbers. So let's look at these pay-per-view numbers, and let's see if you ruined the industry, or if it was ruined, or it was an impossible situation to dig out before you got there. So in 1998, okay, Fall Brawl had a buy rate of 0.70. Okay.
What month is that? Just say that's September now?
September 1998. I know you're writing shit down. I know you. But check this out, Vince. 1999, Fall Brawl, 0.29. Less than half before you even came in. Okay? Secondly, with the house show business, another thing that Meltzer talked about, right, that you're responsible for, okay?
First of all, let's make one thing clear too, Matt. I don't book house shows. Okay. I just want to make that clear. I don't book that. There's a person that does that.
But for the most part, though, as you said, TV ratings, they really beget everything. And if we look at August 1998. Okay. Average house show attendance 7,879. August 1999. 5,392. Even more, September of 1998, house show business, 8,086. That's average fans per event. 1999, 3,155. So we're talking about pay-per-views, and house show attendance was less than half of what it was a year before you came in. That is a fact. Tweet me at Matt Coon Music and say, I don't believe in facts. If you don't, if you don't.
So I walk, let me translate that into Vince Russo language. I walk into WCW, they're drawing 3,000 people at house shows before I even walk in, and that's my fault.
The same month that a year before, they're drawing 8,086, and Eric Bischoff himself said on 83 Weeks that the issues they had in 1999 were due because of the 1998 booking. And so one would surmise then that the issues that they had in 1999, from Eric Bischoff's own words, are because of 1998 booking. Further, and I'm not a guy who's always been a Vince Russo guy. I'm a guy who's heard all these things and did my own research. And if you want to have an opinion on Twitter or have an opinion in this world, know what the hell you're talking about, do your own research. But Brian Alvarez in his own book said, quote, WCW was already in dire straits before Vince Russo got there. But Vince Russo killed WCW.
Matt, see, and this is what I always say about, bro, if you weren't there, you don't know. Matt, I can tell you, I had just started the job, Matt, and then the merger came. Okay, Matt? Matt, when you were working there and that merger happened, you knew things were different. And you knew, bro, AOL, they did not want to have anything to do with wrestling. You knew it, bro. Everybody at the company knew it. Lex Luger told me a story where after the merger took place, he was invited to some big party or something with all these executives. And Lex told me the story of, being privy to conversations where they made it clear they didn't want to be in the wrestling business, bro. And you knew it. You felt it. The minute that merger happened, you knew, bro, this is different. This isn't Ted Turner wanting to compete with Vince McMahon anymore. These are people that are looking down their nose at wrestling and don't want to be in the wrestling business. You knew it, bro. That was the vibe.
And that is the story that has been told by Eric Bischoff, as well as our good friend and good person, Tony Schiavone, who has laid the blame of WCW's demise firmly at the footsteps of Ted Turner. And let's talk about, let's continue this a little bit, because I'd like this show to be a little bit of a continuation of what we talked about in our Vince Says Goodbye to Mr. McMahon episode, where you show up, you lay out your plan for the Avengers, and you get to WCW. Right away, you get in there, and there are hindrances to you pulling off your plan. Now, what's been said, and it's kind of this straw man argument that is made in Alvarez's book and also made in the Observers that I read today and yesterday. A straw man argument is that Vince Russo blames standards and practices, but that's not what happened at all.
Not at all. They had nothing to do with it. I've never said that. Matt, the thing with standards and practices were you never knew what they were going to okay, and you never knew what they were going to have a problem with. It was funny. It was funny to the point where we used to write the show, things that we thought were totally cool, they would have a problem with. Things we thought we were really going to have to sell that they might have a problem with, they didn't have a problem with. So we had no idea. And bro, I used to sit there, and this is what I used to say. Guys, if there is a handbook, give me the handbook. I will follow it. I know this is a television company. I know there are standards and practices. I knew there were standards and practices before I came over. I have no problem. I can be creative, but you got to give me the rules. But you got to tell me what they are.
So it's a little bit like living with an alcoholic parent where you don't know the rules. Some things you think shouldn't be allowed are allowed. Some things that you think are not a big deal become a big deal. But I want to talk.
But Matt, I never blame standards and practices for anything. I never blame them for nothing. That had nothing to do with it ever. And that's why I'm saying, like, what does Brian Alvarez pull that out of his ass? It had nothing to do with it. Nothing.
I think what it goes along with the timing the thinking at the time, because I remember this as well, is that Vince Russo can't do any of that outlandish, easy TNA bullshit that got him over in WWE, in WCW, because they have different standards and practices over there. And that's why you use that as an excuse. That is what people said. But you're saying that was never really a factor with standards and practices in your success or lack of in WCW.
Never, bro, never. Like, here's a perfect example, Matt. Like, I remember a couple of things. We wanted, and I talked about them. We wanted Hogan and, Nash and Hall to show up drunk to the show. Well, they weren't allowed to show up drunk. So for shits and giggles, we tell standards in practice, well, how about if they're sick and they're downing cough medicine and they get high on the cough medicine? We ask them that as a joke. And they turn around and say, oh, yeah, that's okay. We're looking at each other and say, wait a minute, bro. They can't show up drunk, but they can get high. All right, bro. Here's another perfect case in point, bro. Remember the Rosati sisters?
I do. Yes, indeed.
Okay, bro. I wrote them in on the show. And the Rosati sisters were supposed to walk in and Piper was supposed to start reeling off one-liners on the Rosati sisters. Okay, standards and practices turned around to me and they said, "Oh, Vince, you can't do that because an overweight person might be watching the show and they might get offended by that." And I was like,
"I wasn't offended." Really?
There was a scene we wanted Kimberly to slip Ric Flair a Mickey in his drink. Okay, we weren't allowed to see it, but she was allowed to do it. Okay, we'll work. Bro, that was never there was never an issue with that. Never.
The Hall and Nash thing is hilarious because the first one is there, Kevin Nash is sipping cough syrup like a dinner aperitif, but in the second episode of Nitro that you booked, which we actually just did a watch along of on our Patreon, Scott Hall said a really funny thing. He said, "We don't have any gear, but we have stuff in this cooler that rhymes with gear."
Yeah, exactly, bro. That's what I'm talking about. Bro, you know what the funny thing was? You know who was the head of standards and practices when I was there? Bro, remember we were in Atlanta, right? But remember Tom Glavine?
Yeah. The pitcher, part of the big four pitchers with Avery and Maddox and with the Atlanta Braves.
His brother was standards and practices, bro.
Wow.
And we used to meet with them, and I just used to sit there and I'd say, guys, give me the handbook. I will follow your rules and regulations, but I have to know what we're talking about. They never supplied me with that.
Hold on.
Yeah, they never supplied me with that, Matt, because the rules changed every week.
Hold on. So the Cy Young award-winning anchor of the greatest pitching staff of all time, his brother had enough expertise in fucking standards and practices where he got to work for the company that owned the Braves somehow, and yet he's the guy who's qualified to tell you what's on screen and what's not on screen?
Exactly. Without a handbook, without the rules, nothing. So they're deciding week to week what's okay and what's not okay. But it never hindered me.
He was the Lanny Poffo of the Braves.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. I think his first name was Dan, It's in my book. It's in my book. It's in How Vince Russo Killed WCW.
Well, maybe he did an interview under a different name, and his qualifications by themselves in his interview, and then after he was hired, he goes, "By the way, I'm Tom Glavine's brother that you're paying millions and millions of dollars under a salary cap. So I want to make sure you don't get in trouble for exceeding your salary cap by giving me a job based on my last name. So I want to make sure you're doing it based on my qualifications."
Exactly.
That's bullshit, dude.
Yep. But like I said, bro, I never had a problem with it. But I was like, guys, just please give me the rules. Just tell me I never got the rules from them.
Who was in charge of the ring crew? Dale Murphy's sister?
Yeah. Yeah. Second cousin, bro. Yeah.
And then, tag team champs Ron Gant, and
bro, if I ever blamed standards and practices, bro, what I would be saying is I'm not creative enough to work around that. That's what I would be saying. I'm not creative enough to work around it.
And that, in your ego is, and you say you don't have an ego, but it's bullshit. But you don't know that. That's fine. But you would never say that. You would never say, I am not creative enough to write around your bullshit rules.
Of course not, bro, because there's 100 ways to do it. There's always a different way to do it. You're making the shit up. Okay, they can't be drunk, so they could drink cough syrup.
And in the same sense, it's a creative opportunity, right? Because if you're on HBO or you're on, pay-per-view, and you say you can do whatever you want, right? Then you become like a big kid sitting on top of a pile of toys bored. When you have limitations and you're forced to work around them, it actually inspires more creativity, right?
Absolutely. And it's more challenging, and it forces you to think more. Bro, I knew there were standards and practices going in. I knew that. I never had an issue with it.
So it wasn't standards and practices. Let's kill that, and let's go ahead and send your tweets over to, you know what? Let's not send tweets. Go over to facebook.com/RussoCoonTWC. We're going to be doing some cool stuff over there. But if it wasn't standards and practices, Vince, what's the big reason? Why was Vince Russo not successful in WCW?
Bro, it is real easy. We had a game plan. We started putting that game. The game plan was, there is nothing happening here. Nothing is over. Nothing is working. There are no television ratings. There are no pay-per-view buys. There is no house attendance. This is broken, bro. So what we need to do is break down the entire foundation and start building it up from the ground. And that's what was presented to them by me and Ed in our negotiations.
That must have been, I know you were pissed off at Vince and you wanted to leave, but for me, as someone who likes to be creative and likes to write music and likes to do a lot of things creatively, that to me seems even more enticing as a reason to go than leaving Vince. The opportunity to build something in your own vision and to create something from scratch. That sounds fun, right?
Absolutely. And we were open to the challenge. We made it clear to them, guys, you're not going to get the ratings back overnight. It just like a losing ball club, bro. If you lost 100 games in 2018, very unlikely you're going to win 100 games in 219. It has happened, but it's an anomaly. It doesn't work that way. Getting your ratings back and getting your audience back is going to take time.
And what was the plan? Specifically, the plan was to build up these mid-card guys.
Yes.
To give these older wrestlers that are a little past their prime, but also had a lot of cachet, and as you saw it, could have been used a lot better and a lot more effectively. Give them a little time away to get fresh, to come back together as a team. What got in the way of that, Vince? Yeah. What got in the way?
It was all repositioning. We're repositioning everybody right now. We're repositioning the guys in the middle. We're repositioning the legends. It's all repositioning and getting everybody in the right spots.
And
okay.
With the ratings on October 12th, 1998. And I think people get a little too fixated on like, and you do too, where you go, the 12 weeks before I came in, it's this, and the 12 weeks after I came in, because you're trying to defend yourself. But if we go year to year, on October 12th, 1998, okay, the ratings of Monday Nitro was a 4.7. 1 year, the week before you came in, it was a 2.6. So we're talking, just off the top of my head, that's like a 43% decline. And there was no decline in ratings, or we've already proven pay-per-views or house shows during your tenure anywhere close to 40%. So you're coming in to a dire situation, as Brian Alvarez put it, to create things in your own vision. But the problem was, you won't say it right now, I think maybe you're waiting on it, is that people didn't trust you, and people were afraid for their positions, and people wanted to hold on to their positions. Let's talk a little bit about that. What got in the way of the big plan?
Okay, and bro, keep in mind, I'm not naive to any of this. I know the game. Bro, the number one thing with wrestlers, bro, it's almost like cancer, okay? It's almost like cancer with wrestlers. Here's the number one disease in wrestling: paranoia. You're constantly walking around paranoid with eyes in the back of your head. Who's trying to take my spot? Who's talking about me? Who's burying me? Yada, yada, yada. So now, Matt, we got a combination of two things. You got a combination of an accountant by the name of Bill Bush is running the company. The guy's a total mark, bro. The guy weighed about 120 pounds. He was all skin and bones. There was nothing to the guy. He looked like an accountant. He was now running the company. Didn't understand the business, didn't understand the work, didn't understand the paranoia, the whole 9 yards. So now, bro, all of a sudden we kick the plan into effect. We're starting to shelve these veterans one by one, and we're starting to build the undercard. So what happens, bro? The veterans, mainly Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan, okay, go to Bill Bush, convince Bill Bush Russo does not know what he's doing. He's trying to get rid of us. You know, I'm Ric Flair. I'm Hulk Hogan. You know, we've done this our whole careers, yada, yada, yada. I mean, Hogan has said on the record, Russo came in and made it clear, if you're over 40 years old, you're not going to be part of this company. No, bro, never said it. Was never a thought in my head. I didn't know what people's ages were. I just knew, bro, you're in a spot now. You're in the wrong spot. Okay, bro, you're not the Hulk Hogan, versus the Iron Sheik circa 1983. You need to be repackaged. You need to come back in the right spot. Okay, but again, bro, paranoia. Protecting your spot. Okay, bro? Thinking the young guys are now going to take your spot. Knowing that the guy in charge is an accountant and he's going to believe everything Ric Flair says, or he's going to believe everything Hulk Hogan. I knew all that was going on, bro. I wasn't naive to any of it, but I laid out a plan to WCW and I was going to stick to this plan regardless of the consequences.
Paranoia, something you're aware of. People wanting to keep their position, something else you're aware of. Talk specifically. Why would people like Hogan and Flair think that way about you? Who's getting in their ear? Are they getting in their own ear? What is going on that left you behind the eight ball before you even started? You had the money, you had the contract, but at the same time, why? Who was in it for you where they wanted to see you fail? Vince, something I know that we have in common, because we both record these podcasts at weird hours, is you and I both have trouble sleeping at night. How did you sleep last night?
Well, Matt, it's not only the trouble sleeping, it's when we finally, that head hits the pillow, bro, and we're laid out, and now it's time to go nighty-night. How fast do we fall asleep? Matt, it's a new year, 2019. I think people forget something. Everybody in the new year, they want to exercise, they want to diet, but what's the third most important thing? Sleep and getting your rest, bro. And how do you do that, Matt, if you don't have the right mattress?
Absolutely. Sleep's important, and the quality of your sleep affects the quality of your daily life, And if you're struggling to get a good night's sleep, you've got to try a Purple mattress. And the founders of Purple Mattress are two brothers who have been developing cushioning technology for 30 years on things like medical beds and wheelchairs.
Well, Matt, listen, I know you're about to say you don't have to be a rocket scientist to develop a mattress, but you're wrong, Matt Kuhn, because the Purple mattress will probably feel different than anything you've ever experienced because it uses the brand new material that was developed by an actual rocket scientist like me when I used to write Raw and SmackDown. I was a rocket scientist. It was not like the memory foam that so many people are used to. This is a different animal, Matt.
Yeah, I can't do that memory foam, and everybody's got a mattress. It's something we all need, but how's this one different? Is that the Purple mattress will probably feel different from anything that you've ever experienced. Its material feels very unique because it's firm and soft at the same time, just like you, Vince. So it keeps everything supported while still feeling really comfortable. Plus, it's breathable, so it sleeps cool.
Yeah, this is the one, Matt. It's the beginning of the year for everybody, man. If you're dieting, great. If you're working out, great. But, bro, Stevie Richards taught me when you rest the body, it rejuvenates. That's the most important time. You need a mattress. You got to go to sleep, bro. And Purple mattress is the mattress for you.
And when we're going to advertise and we're going to get a great sponsor like Purple Mattress, you're not going to have any risk. There's a 100-night risk-free trial for listeners with Truth with Consequences. If you're not fully satisfied, you can actually return your mattress for a full refund. It's backed by a 10-year warranty and free shipping and returns.
And Matt, the most important thing here, free in-home setup, bro. They will also remove the old mattress. That's a headache to a lot of people, bro. They'll do the work for you.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're going to love Purple. And right now, our listeners will get a free Purple pillow with the purchase of a mattress. And that's in addition to the great gifts they're offering site-wide. Just text, what do we text?
We text BRO, B-R-O, to 474747.
The only way to get the free pillow is to text BRO to 474747. That's BRO to 474747. Message and data rates may apply. Purple mattress.
Okay, now, to back up what I'm saying, Matt, remember on Patreon, Piper's interview we just played a week ago?
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We're all going to hear it on Patreon. It's amazing.
Okay, bro, his predetermination about Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara before he even met us. Remember that, Matt? Before we even said hello.
Right.
You heard it. You heard it.
And he held on to that. He held on to that all the way till years later where he was in TNA and he was saying he had all these paranoid ideas about you. It was like it was a fact that you did not want the old guys in there. You wanted young guys in there, right?
Exactly, bro. So, again, Flair's dropped off at the desert. In Flair's mind, his career and his legacy is as a shoot being buried. He really believes that in his mind. Hogan, either Sting laid down, I think Sting laid down for Hogan. So in Hogan's mind, oh my God, this guy's coming in. I'm done. I better do something about it. And that's when the politics go into play. That's when we've got to get rid of this guy, or else our money is in jeopardy. Okay, that's the game, bro. And you had an accountant. The accountant was the guy that you had to convince.
So the plan was specifically of course, all the old guys going in, the mid-carders being built up. Who did you see as the guys? You know, it's almost like there's 3 or 4 different levels of talent, right? You had the legends. You had some interesting in-betweeners, you know, DDP and Goldberg and Scott Steiner and Jeff Jarrett, veterans that weren't really past their prime. And then you had kind of a next level of mid-carders who were due to be elevated, from a Benoit to a Guerrero to, you know, maybe a Vampiro. And then you had that next level of young guys like maybe The Wall or maybe Jindrak and O'Hare or some of the new blood people. Who did you see as the future of the company out of those 4 groups?
Bro, I didn't, because I didn't want to go in with predetermined, I wanted to see for myself. I mean, literally, it was an even playing field. Now everybody was going to get a shot. Now we were going to sit back and we were going to organically let it happen. I did not want to go in with any preconceived notions on anybody. I didn't want to do to those guys what Piper did to me. Well,
you had to have something, because you had to write the first show. Let's talk about writing the first show, October 18th, 1999, Vince Russo's first Nitro. It hits the sheets that Vince Russo has left WCW. Vince Russo's left the WWF. He is the writer. Meltzer even says, you know, this is the guy responsible for a lot of the effective storylines, and a lot of people had a lot of optimism about you joining. You popped a rating. The rating went up as a result. How did you write this first show? What was your plan?
Well, you know, again, bro, the thing that I always say is, you know, WWE is kicking WCW's ass at that point, largely a lot of it due to the writing of me and Ed. So, you know, again, we're going there with the same philosophy. We got to get those viewers back. So we're writing the show like the guy is sitting there with the remote control going back and forth between WCW and WWE, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We got to keep them here, bro. We got to be a runaway train. We got to give them a lot of different looks. We can't let them breathe. We can't let them get up. We certainly can't bore them. We're going to get everybody involved on this show, bro. And, you know, again, we're going back to what worked, what was proven to work at WWE, and that was Crash TV.
How did you get all the talent in? How did you know all the talent? Did you have a list of people? How did you write? I really want to get the specifics of how you wrote this specific first show. Was it you did big picture stuff and then Ferraro did the nuts and bolts? How did it all work?
Well, yeah, bro, we got the roster. I mean, these are all people. Now, bro, here's another thing that people don't talk about, Matt. You ready for this?
All right, go ahead.
Nobody ever wants to bring this up. And in spite of this, Matt, we got the ratings up those first 3 months. Here's the first thing we're faced with. You ready, Matt?
All right, go ahead.
We start writing. Guess what's going on at the same time?
What's that?
Ready to Rumble.
Sure.
So this week, bro, okay, guys, this week you don't have Paige, you don't have this one, you don't have that one, you don't have this one. Next week, you don't have this guy, you don't have this guy, you don't have this guy, you don't have this guy. Next week, you don't got Mysterio, you don't got this guy, you don't got this guy. Bro, right off the bat now, we're working around stars in the company that we don't have available to us because they're making a movie. Nobody ever brings that up. But okay, you know, no problem. Let's work with the guys that we have. When they're done with the movie, then we'll work them into the show. But, you know, Matt, like I could tell off the bat, bro, the first day I walked in the locker room, within 5 seconds, I got the landscape. Let me tell you what that landscape was. Separated locker room. The big stars, the millionaires club on one side, everybody else was dressing somewhere else.
So that's what you saw when you first came in.
First thing. And that did not happen at the WWE. Austin and Rock were in the locker room with everybody else. Taker changed with everybody else. That was not the case at WWE. So the minute I walk in, it's divided, as clear as day. Okay? Now, how do they respond to me? Bro, I can remember Conan and Rey coming over, shaking my hand, introducing themselves. Benoit, Guerrero, Malenko, all those guys in the middle that knew what I was going to do and that had hope and then and had promise that now this is going to be a new day, bro. On the other side of the coin, I can remember looking in the eyes of Hulk Hogan. And I can remember feeling right there, right then, no matter what I say, no matter what I do, this guy is not going to trust me. Now, also, let's keep into play here, bro, because these are the things behind the scenes people don't understand. Who's Hogan still tight with? He's still tight with Bischoff.
Right.
Eric's sitting home now, unemployed. Okay, don't sit there and tell me Eric doesn't want back in. Of course, Eric wants back in because now he's unemployed. Now he's on the outside looking in. Now he doesn't have the power he once had. Now he doesn't have the money he once had. So now I'm working with Hogan, who's tight with Eric. Hogan doesn't know me from Adam, but now Hogan has preconceived notions about Vince Russo before we ever worked 5 minutes together. And I knew that, bro. I knew it.
How many people do you figure WCW you needed to get onto the show in WCW on that first Nitro? I'm looking at the payroll and I'm trying to count the people as I'm doing it. You had your top 20 wrestlers making from $4.6 million a year all the way to 300. Oh, Vince, how many checks did you write in WCW?
Bro, I can I tell you something, Matt? I had no idea what anybody was making. Not one. It was never told to me.
You killed it. How could you not know?
It concerned me.
You killed it. How do you not know what they make?
It didn't. What people made did not concern me. I wanted to write the best show I possibly could. If my star was going to be a guy that was making $200,000, then that was going to be the guy. I did not know what one person was making.
In 1999, you had well over 100 people on the payroll. People that aren't with the company, such as Bob Sapp and Swole and people like that, but also people getting balloon payments like Bill Goldberg and Hulk Hogan and Bret Hart. The total payroll was $36 million in 1999. That's $1999, people. And there was $4 million in licensing royalties. I'm sorry. Would you like to guess how many people were under contract in 1999?
Didn't you just say 100?
No, I just estimated, but now I see the number. How many do you think it was?
156. Jeez.
156. So you probably maybe 90 or 80 of those you have to get on screen. And I accuse you of doing too much. I accuse you of too much going on. How in the hell are you supposed to get 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, whatever wrestlers onto a show without somebody getting their feelings hurt and without you doing Crash TV with a segment every 5 minutes?
And not only that, bro, all the people you can't get on TV, they have heat with you. Because in their minds, they're better than the people that are on TV. So, like, it's a no-win situation. Mathematically, it's impossible to get all these people on the show. And if you don't get them on the show, now they got heat with you.
Here's a funny thought. You were criticized and you were maligned about not using people or, like, you know, if you didn't get people on. But the fact is that maybe, Vince, you were too nice. Maybe you didn't feel like you could leave people off the show because you had 100 damn people on this first show. Like, maybe you didn't feel like, you had the power because you were writing, but maybe you felt, man, I got to get these guys on the show. They're wrestlers, and I want to do right by them. Is it possible you were too nice?
Oh, no, there's no question about it, bro. There's no question about it. I gave a shit about these guys, bro. And I did want to give them the opportunity, and I did want to get them on the show, and I did want to give them the chance to show what they could do without a shadow of a doubt, bro. So it was two things. It was I did want to get them on the show. I wanted to give them all a shot, but I also knew, bro, those people I can't get on the show, they're going to have heat with me. I mean, and it like I said, bro, it was impossible. Do the math, do the numbers. It was impossible.
Let's talk about the first Nitro. Of course, Philly at the Spectrum drew only 7,000 people. That was your fault, Vince, because you weren't there. Because 7,000 people at the Spectrum, there's no way that would have happened a year before. That's where the 76ers play. The show opens. We've watched it since, but I'm not sure if you remember. What is the first shot of the first Vince Russo show? Do you remember?
No.
It's a limo and someone coming out of a limo in a suit and a tie with his lawyers. Sid. How big of a factor? And I'm not down at dude. We've watched probably 40 hours of wrestling since we watched that. So don't think I'm getting down on you. But what was the thinking in opening with Sid? Is that's got to be you in your head, kind of going, this guy's a big part of the future.
Yeah, well, keep in mind, bro, I had an advantage with guys that I had worked with before. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I knew what they were capable of. I knew what they could do. There was somewhat of a comfort level. I had worked with Sid before, at the WWE. I knew Sid. I knew what he was capable of. The presence of Sid, the look at Sid. He was a freak. On top of that, Sid cut a great promo. And nobody ever talks about Sid's promos. I produced Sid at the WWE. So I was very comfortable with somebody like that.
So the first match you had is the first insight into Vince Russo, and it was something that people thought was weird and people maybe didn't like. But looking back on it now, Vince, I think it's really interesting. They had a match with Juventud Guerrero against Courageous, and they were wrestling, and then Bret Hart showed up, and they had no idea what to do. Did they not know Bret Hart was going to come in the ring and cut the promo during their match?
I'm sure, I can't remember 100%, but I'm sure they knew. Bro, that's the one thing you want to be. You don't want to, you really don't want to kayfabe the boys. That doesn't go over well in the locker room. So you really don't want to do that unless it's later on in TNA where, like, that's the theme of the show. The guys are told you guys ain't gonna know what's happening. But I'm sure, especially on my first day here, bro, I'm sure I didn't kayfabe the boys.
Bret comes out and he cuts a promo that he's always wanted his match with Hogan. It's a natural fit. It's not some of this WWF recidivism people like to talk about where you're just alluding to WWF. This is a match a long time in the making. Bret Hart, as a shoot, felt that Hogan kept him down and wouldn't put him over in WWF. You coming out as Bret Hart, cutting a promo on Hogan, saying he's waited his whole career for a match. And, that's kind of a natural fit and kind of where you saw Bret, right?
Absolutely. And he was one of the guys that was being totally underutilized. Again, I had the advantage of having worked with him. Bro, I don't know what Eric's deal was with Bret. I don't know if he just didn't know what to. I have no idea, but I know, oh my God, talk about being lost in a shuffle and where he deserved to be on the card. So immediately, Sid and Bret, they need to be players.
Bret comes out immediately and says that he says he probably won't get his shot because of the new creative that's in. Why did you have to make Russo and Ferraro coming in as an angle, as opposed to people just know they're two writers or two producers? Why was it important for it to be a thing on screen that there's a new creative there?
Because, bro, I feel the same way today. wrestling should be reality based. I feel the same exact way today. I mean, Matt, can I tell you something? Like, I'm watching Raw this past week. Okay, bro. This is just how out of it they are.
Was Raw better this week? I thought it was.
No,
better.
bro. Here's the problem, Matt. They are putting in a much better effort. Okay, bro. No doubt about it. But, bro, they're still in the bubble of everything being corny, campish, and unbelievable. There's no sense of reality. Here's my case in point, bro. I'm watching the show this week. Braun Strowman turns over a limo, but that's not even the bad part. Then the bad part is, bro, once he turns over the limo, he stands there and lets out a roar. Like, bro, like who does that, bro? Like nobody does that.
He should have walked away like it was ain't no thing, right?
Yeah, I mean,
like a badass just walked away.
That's what I mean about the bubble. Nobody does that. When casuals are watching at home, they're saying this, they're laughing at it. Nobody does that.
So after Bret Hart comes in the ring, we're going to dissect.
And bro, from what I understand, Matt, I'm sorry to interrupt. I know sometimes you make the face, you get pissed. I interrupt. I'm sorry.
I'm never pissed.
I know what I'm trying to tell you is this. Now I'm hearing, and I'm assuming they changed the main event because Braun's not ready, but he's not going to be cleared for the Rumble. But then I'm also hearing, well, bro, he's not going to be cleared for the Rumble because in his rehab, he maybe did a little too much or whatever. So now to me, that's the issue. That's your show. You stupid ass. You were put on this regimen. This was supposed to be your rehab. But bro, you're Superman. You're going to do more. Now what? Now what, bro? Now we don't have a main event. That's the story. Not you break my limo window so you're at a main event. That's the story, bro. You effed us. You freaking effed us, bro. You were supposed to be ready by this date. You couldn't freaking follow orders, so now we're effed. That's the story. What is wrong with that story?
And, I always try to kind of escort you back to the storyline that we're talking about as we're talking about a show. But in this particular case, I'm with you 100% because it's 2019. People might not read Meltzer, but everybody, anybody that reads, that Googles, if they see Braun Strowman's taken out of the main event, they're going to Google why. It's an injury. Everybody knows it. It's not because he ruined Vince's limo. So it doesn't make much sense, even though I thought it was hilarious. I thought Strowman trying to make the door fit back was great. I thought Vince buffing out the shine on the limo, that role might have been better used by somebody else. But it didn't make any sense not to use the injury angle as a reason why he didn't come in.
That's what I'm talking about, bro. So we're talking about 1999 now, 20 years ago. Bro, can we please make it? Can we please let it be? Let the backdrop be the wrestling business. What is really happening and going on, bro?
And your concept, and it never really got truly realized, for writing a wrestling show as you saw fit, was the Larry Sanders Show. And the Larry Sanders Show is a show where they showed at the very beginning, the guy counting down to the beginning of the actual talk show, and it was 5 minutes of that, and the rest of the stuff was backstage. And to you, that's how you saw wrestling at ideally, right?
1,000,000%. Absolutely. This is the ring and this is the show, but this is what's really going on.
So continuing dissecting your first show and what your thought was, Hart is challenging Hogan, says it won't happen because new creative is there. But then the actual champion, Sting, came out and offered him a title shot right then and there. He said, as a face, because he was previously kind of a heel, I will give you that shot because I'm Sting and, I'm a good guy and I don't care about the new creative. where did you see Sting? You didn't know Sting. You did know of Sting, and you definitely knew of his potential. Where did you see his future in WCW?
No, he was still enough in his prime to be a top guy. From what I was watching on the show, I mean, he was, again, bro, red hot as the crow. But when you run it into the ground and you get personally bankrupt, you the guy's dead. So this was another guy. We had to get him back on top in the spot he deserved to be in.
Now, of course, Sting's. I think I loved the angle with the crow, and of course, when he came back, they supposedly changed plans because Sting didn't have a tan. But then a lot of people sleep on 1999 Sting. You and I have watched 2 episodes over on the Patreon. 1999 Sting, best promos of his career, best look of his career, perfect shape, really good, pops off the screen. I think Sting would have been a guy you could kind of hitch the whole program to in a way.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. Absolutely.
So speaking of some of these guys.
And see, but that's the thing about Steve, too. And I really got to know him really well over the years. But, like, that guy didn't have preconceived notions. You know what I mean? He didn't. He didn't know me. I didn't know him. He's the kind of guy that's like, I'm not gonna care what I hear about him or what others say. He's going to be judged on working with me. That's the difference. And I felt that way with him.
And of course, Sting had a great conversation with him last year, and just the nicest guy. Coming up, the next segment was Shivani said that it was Russo and Furrow's first show, saying you were the creative forces behind the WWF, and now you're with them. And then we see a few of these guys that you might think need a little bit more exposure. Disco beat Vampiro in 1 minute. Lash LaRue came out for commentary and attacked Disco after the match. Let's talk about those guys. Vampiro, to me, looking back, was a Vince Russo guy in the sense that I thought you think he could have gone, like he could have been a big, big part of the future.
Oh, no doubt. But he, I think he'd be the first to tell you. I mean, and he still is to this day. He was just always a little bit of a head case, bro. He beats to his own drummer, man. I mean, he's a very, very unique individual, bro. He's a lot like Raven, in that sense. So a lot of times with somebody like that, bro, it's like they're gonna be their worst enemy because like they're gonna do something or rub somebody the wrong way and that was kind of Vampiro. But on pure talent alone, on the look alone, absolutely, there was nothing that could have stopped them.
In a way, Vampiro and Raven are similar in that they're kind of workers in the worst way, where they're a little self-serving, but mostly sensitive and have a high view of themselves. Yeah. Yes. And he loses to Disco. Now, we talked about this on the Patreon. You have a relationship to Disco Inferno, the brilliant. I always put him over because he says nice things about me. Glenn Gilberti. You immediately form a relationship out of all the people with Glenn Gilberti. Talk about Disco Inferno. Well,
see, this is another ego bullshit. I wanted to bring Disco into WWE. And he was having, I think it was over the Jackie thing or whatever, and he was available. Okay, bro? So I went as far as writing a magazine article and using Disco's silhouette in the WWE magazine, teasing he might come, So I wanted him in. He was available. Bruce Pritchard was talent relations. Okay, and as the story goes, Bruce Pritchard called Disco, okay, bro, didn't like the way Disco answered some of his questions, so really convinced Vince not to hire Disco. So, again, let's look at that, okay, because, bro, that's either one of two things. It's either, Bruce, you either got a freaking tremendous ego and like a guy like Disco Inferno needs to answer your questions correctly in order to, he needs to get past the gatekeeper. Okay, so you either have a huge ego, or what's the second reason, bro? I'm going to make sure Disco doesn't get in here because Russo wants it.
He's Vince's guy.
Exactly. That's the bullshit, bro. That's how it works. That's the game. So Disco never got hired. So of course, when I went there, I was very eager to work with him.
It's possible though that Bruce does have an ego in the sense that he has Vince McMahon's ear. He has a great relationship with Vince McMahon. He says, and he believes he knows what Vince wants. So when he interviews Disco and he goes, this is not going to be the right guy for Vince, is it possible it was just an innocent, also, he really felt that way, that maybe this guy wouldn't work out in WWF.
It's possible, bro, but my experience with Bruce was there was always an agenda. So, yes, it's possible. If that's anybody else, it's possible. But Bruce had already set the precedent with me. There's always an agenda.
You said to me earlier on our Patreon when we watched Disco wrestle on one of these two first Nitros, and I think this has more to do with it, quite honestly. I think Bruce is a guy that sizes people up very quickly. He makes his mind about them very quickly. That's my observation, knowing him personally. You said to me that Glenn Gilberti does not have a political bone in his body. So maybe his problem was when he talked to Bruce, he wasn't thinking, what answers do they want? He's thinking, what answers do I feel?
Well, not only that, I know Glenn's not kissing Bruce's ass. Glenn is not begging for a job or dying for a job. That's not Glenn. And even if Glenn needed a job at that point, he would never, ever do that. And I'm sure, bro, Bruce, a lot of people kissed Bruce's ass to get in the door. He was the gatekeeper for a lot of years, and I'm sure he got off on that, and I'm sure he loved that. It fed his ego. So, Disco has always had a ho-hum attitude. So if Disco had that ho-hum attitude with Bruce and he didn't kiss his ass and he didn't put him over, I can see how the conversation went down the way it did.
Brian Alvarez, in watching these Nitros, said it was obvious to him that you liked Lash LaRue a lot because Lash LaRue came out for commentary in this and beat up Disco and had a lot of presence. But in talking to you, though, it's just that you wanted to give everybody a look. Talk a little bit about that and also what your impression was of Lash LaRue.
Well, again, he's unique. He was unique, bro. He had that cool accent that nobody had. He was young. He was underutilized. But, bro, maybe it was Disco. I remember a couple of people really put him over to me. Bro, you need to give this kid a chance. I'm pretty sure Disco was one of those guys. But definitely, bro, during these shows, I'm giving everybody a look.
We didn't cover how you got to form a relationship with Disco. There was a moment where you saw an open chair in an airplane and an open seat next to Disco. You sit down. And you guys had a conversation. What was it about this particular guy that made you feel he should be part of creative? He's got a big future, and I want to be his friend to this very day. To this day, Disco Inferno defends you, talks about you, says you're a good guy, and really, actually, sometimes he sends me little messages about maybe things I can say to defend you because he's such a big fan of yours, Vince.
Well, number one, bro, right off the bat to this day, Disco looked at it as a television show. He did not look at it as a wrestling show. He looked at it as a television show. That's number one. And I was the same exact way. Television, entertainment. The people that are watching CSI need to watch our show. And number two, this guy did not have one political bone in his body. Never put himself over to me, never talked about himself, never talked about his character. There was no hidden agenda. I mean, it was as clear as day. So those two things immediately drew me to the guy.
Next segment is Medusa, Michelli, Alundra Blaze, friend to you and I, coming out and saying she's going to quit WCW over putting her in an evening gown match. We've talked about this. I've talked about this with her. She was not happy at this point. What was your first involvement with her, and what was her attitude when you first met her in WCW?
I didn't first meet her in WCW. I was very close with her at the WWE.
I guess what I meant was when you first talked to her in WCW. About
bro. Again, because I had experience with her at WWE, and I really liked her as a human being. Okay, bro. Like, I want to get her on the show. I want her to be a part of the show. So, again, bro, my goal was to just get her, back on the show on a regular basis, in a pretty prominent role for a female.
Was she really upset about this? We've talked about how she looks upset on screen. Maybe it's a character, maybe it's real. Was she really upset? Do you think she felt like she was being mistreated and misused in WCW?
Bro, I felt this is a really weird thing, Matt. And again, I just got to be honest with you. It's like, okay, Medusa's like one of the girls today. She wants to be a wrestler. She wants to go out there and wrestle. She takes great pride in her wrestling. Okay, I get it. She wrestled in Japan. She learned at the dojos, the whole 9 yards, bro. I mean, she worked with some of the...
She did shoot fights,
worked with some of the toughest women in the business, Sherry Martel. I get all that, okay? But it's like on the other side of the coin, okay, Medusa, like, this is the part you've got to explain to me. You go out and clearly get surgically enhanced. Okay, bro? You wear outfits that are showing a lot. Okay? I didn't tell you to get surgically enhanced. I didn't tell you to wear outfits that are showing a lot. So it's like what is it? I don't that's where the confusion came with me. It's like, okay, bro, you want to be a wrestler and you want to be taken seriously for your wrestling, but then, you're going to get certain parts of your body enhanced. You're going to wear a wardrobe that's going to clearly show that. Like, so like, what is it? Like, it's just a very, very, very confusing thing to me. If you're a wrestler, bro, and you're a woman and you want to be seen as a wrestler, and I take this craft seriously, I don't think you're going to be thinking about the cosmetic end of it. So, it's like, what's it going to be? It's very confusing. So then when you lean towards the cosmetic side, well, now I'm going to get pissed off because I really want to be a wrestler. It's like, what is it?
I disagree with that narrative, because what I think you're saying is that because she decided to get enhanced and decided to make herself more marketable, that makes it so that she can't criticize being used in a way where she might be objectified. Like, I don't think it's almost like saying if someone dresses sexy.
Well,
Go ahead, buddy.
You don't throw out a word like objectified without backing that up. In no way, shape, or form was she objectified.
How do you have an evening gown match without objectifying people? How do you have a match where people are stripped down to their bras and panties without them being seemingly objectified?
The same way you have a tuxedo match. Howard Finkel was objectified.
You're saying that having Medusa stripped to her bras and panties is the same thing as having Howard Finkel stripped to their bras and panties?
Bro, a bra and panties is a bathing suit. It's no different than a guy wearing wrestling trunks. It's the same thing, bro. How are you what Medusa doesn't wear a bikini to the beach? How are you objectifying a woman by being in a swimsuit, but you're not objectifying Finn Balor by coming out and showing cock and balls every week? Are we objectifying Finn Balor? Why aren't we objectifying Finn Balor?
You think Finn Balor comes out and shows cock and balls every week?
Oh my God, bro!
Really?
If his tights were any tighter, he wouldn't be able to freaking breathe. He's not being objectified?
I don't think so.
What is the difference? You're objectifying Medusa just by making that statement. A woman can't be seen in a bikini, but Finn Balor can be coming out every week showing me the outline of his cock and his balls. That's not objectifying him?
But with Finn Balor, the number one thing isn't cock and balls.
Bullshit. It's not. Then why is he wearing shorts that are so tight?
He's wearing the same shorts everybody else wears.
Oh no, he's not, bro. No, I promise you he's not. I don't see Kevin Owens as cock and balls, bro. Okay? I've never seen Kevin Owens. I've never seen Sami Zayn's cock or balls. Don't say that, man. You see, that's now you're being Wade Keller.
No.
Now we're objectifying Medusa for being in a bikini, but we'll look at Finn Balor's cock and balls all day. Come on, bro. Listen to what you're saying.
I've never, ever seen Finn Balor wrestle and say, wow, look, I mean, I'm looking at his cock and balls. Like, I don't see that. I just see a guy who goes out there and wrestles. Like, you're thinking that Finn Balor, you're saying they put Finn Balor's sexuality, his attractiveness out there the way they do the women? Is that your...
I'm not saying they do. I don't know if they do it or he does it. I mean, bro, they're not telling Finn Balor what to wear. They're not saying Finn. Vince isn't telling Finn get a pair of wrestling trunks that are 3 sizes too small for you. I don't think that objective is coming from Vince.
So our good friend Haziah at What For Apparel has made some great shirts. Those of you in our Russo's Club Elite, you guys have got your shirts being sent out to you right now. You get them every month. And it scares me, just like last week. He's already sent me the Exploding in Man Juice shirt, Vince, and I had to make an edit to it. But I'm really afraid of what the Finn Balor cock and ball shirt is going to look like.
And I am not any way, shape, or form saying Medusa was objectified. I will never, ever agree to that. I don't believe that for a second. I believe she didn't like being she didn't like being in matches with Oklahoma. She didn't like there being barbecue. She wanted to have matches. She wanted to be working with the Molly Hollies. I don't think it was a question of her being objectified. I don't think Medusa had any problem showing off her great body.
Speaking of showing off great bodies, the last segment in the first hour, and Meltzer goes on to say at least it was an unopposed hour, was the Nitro Girls search segment. Vince, why would you put this segment in the show if it was already crowded?
Yeah, because they were already doing that. Like I could not pull the plug on that. I wouldn't have pulled the plug on that. People invested a lot of time in doing that. And again, bro, I pulled the plug on that. Now I've got 20 Nitro girls who hate me. So, you know,
also a lot of wasted money, right? A lot of wasted money. There was a commitment made to it. So like I had to respect that, bro, and I still had to see that through. And thank God for this particular Nitro segment, even though he doesn't say it on the show. I guess it wasn't something that Meltzer was impressed with. I remember watching with you, and this being the debut of one person who pops off the screen, Miss Stacy Keibler.
Yeah, no, absolutely, bro. And it's funny because when we went back and watched it, I mean, I think it's fair to say Stacy wasn't the best dancer in the world. But definitely, you could see that, God, this girl had that it factor.
Yeah, I mean, God, she's so beautiful. But when she dances, she looked like she had like 7 elbows on each.
Yeah, she looked like Big Bird a little bit.
It looked like a little bit like a giraffe giving birth, like Breach.
Little bit. Yeah.
So that was the first hour. The second hour starts, and Kimberly comes out, and Kimberly, Meltzer says, gives a great promo. Kimberly was part of the Nitro Girl segment. She did a great job in that, according to Meltzer. And then Bagwell comes out. To me, this is kind of a miss for you, but we've talked about you have 1,000 ideas for this show. If this is a miss, that's okay, but you probably disagree. He did a heel promo talking about he's in line for a big push. What about these insider terms, a push and the fact that the new creative are going to push him as a big guy? What did you think about, what was your idea with Bagwell?
Bro, you know what I love about this is what I love about the Mark world. They think everything's inside. They think they're the only ones that know things. So when something is said on a big stage, they get offended because, we're the only one that knows what a push is. People know what a push is. You don't have to be an insider to know what a push is. There are new bosses, and they're now going to favor me. That is not an inside term. Marks like to believe that, oh my God, only we know what that is, and how dare they say that? Bro, stop it. There's a new boss, and he's now going to be in favor with the new bosses. That's what he's saying.
And he's now in favor of the new bosses, and there's consequences to be paid for not listening to the bosses. Coming out next was Kimberly looking for David Flair. And then we had a match. Let's talk about David Flair. You come in, you see David Flair's there. Of course, everybody knows he gets a pretty high profile working with you. What did you feel you could do with David Flair when you first arrived there?
Bro, I just felt so sorry for David. I felt sorry for him for two reasons. Number one, bro, you're never gonna live up to your father's boots. Never. And it has nothing to do with you, bro. Nothing at all. You could have been the second coming. There will never be another Ric Flair. And that's how you were always going to be looked upon. And that's how you were always going to be compared. And I felt bad for the kid. And I also felt bad for him, bro, because he was the nicest guy in the freaking world. I mean, he was a good looking kid. He was committed. He was a nice looking guy. And bro, I felt a compassion to just help him as much as I could. I don't know, bro. I don't know what it was, but I can tell you, I really felt, I really, really, really wanted to help this kid.
What about personally? What was your personal relationship like with David?
Just great to work with. Never saw an ego on the kid, was willing to do everything. I just thought he was a sweetheart of a guy, man.
Coming up next was a tag team match where you decided to switch the titles in your first show. The people that were the tag team champs were the great Booker T and your good friend Stevie Ray, and they were beaten by Conan and Rey Mysterio Jr. Why do a tag team switch in your first match?
Because there was a WCW lawsuit gimmick going on at the time, and they told me that I needed to put the belt on two Mexican wrestlers.
Oh my God, I totally thought you were serious for a second. My eyes
just popped. No. So they said,
Jesus
Vince,
Christ.
we're being sued. There's a racist thing, and you need to really put the belt on these two Mexican guys.
But you took it off two black guys, Vince.
Huh?
You took it off two black guys.
Yeah, that didn't wash well.
You got to think these things through, Vince. Come on now.
Yeah.
No reason.
Bro, before I was there, this was not my gimmick, not my idea. I like the idea of the filthy animals. And bro, that shouldn't surprise anybody. When you hear filthy animals, you know that came right from Conan. I don't know that for a fact. I'm 99.9% sure Conan came up with the whole filthy animal gimmick, and I liked it. I liked the name. I liked the guys involved in it. So I wanted to use that. That's one thing that I did want to use and I did want to build on. So I thought it was important to put the belts on those guys to give that group a little power.
Now we are off Twitch, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. So Conan and Rey Mysterio. Conan was listed by Dave Meltzer as the biggest draw of an entire decade, headlining in Mexico. Of course, he comes to WCW, and he's great. What did you think of Conan, and what did you think of this undersized just incredible wrestler, Rey Mysterio Jr.?
Yeah, well, Conan was a blessing to me, bro, and he's still somebody that I have in my life, 20 years after the fact. What a blessing, because he was honest. You know where you stand with Conan. If he's got a problem with you, he's going to tell you. If you F up, he's going to tell you. You know where you stand with Conan. And I needed that. I needed a guy that was just going to be absolutely honest with me. And, Ray was another guy, bro. He was another guy that I had just watched on TV like everybody else. Just an unbelievable athlete. And, God, I just knew, the potential of what you could do with him was amazing.
What is the difference in your mind between Rey Mysterio and Finn Balor?
I don't see Ray's cock and balls when he wrestles.
That's fair. So, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah, actually, it is a good thing. Yes, it is a good thing.
All right. So he took on Harlem Heat. Harlem Heat loses the tag team titles. Of course, you've had a lot of good things to say about Stevie Ray. At that moment, you don't know much about Booker T. How long did it take you to look at Booker T and go, this guy is gold?
A week. And, bro, let me tell you what stood out more than that. How humble he was, bro. Bro, again, a guy that never, ever sold himself to me. Never. Vince, I should be getting more opportunities. Never. He was a yes sir, no sir, smile on his face kind of guy. Never was jockeying for position. Never. He didn't need to, bro. He didn't have to say anything. He was doing it in the ring. You were either going to realize what you had or you weren't.
At the same time, the rest of the Filthy Animals, Eddie Guerrero, who Meltzer goes on to say was terrible on the mic, Kidman and Tori Wilson were doing commentary at ringside. It was funny. Meltzer says it was funny because Guerrero talked about how his wrestlers, Heat, weren't even in the same league as Conan and Ray. But then Kidman said that Booker T was a good worker. What was the feeling about getting all the Filthy Animals behind the mics? Were you just trying to give everybody kind of a look that night?
I'm definitely trying to give everybody a look, bro. Definitely trying to see with my own eyes who needed work where were they strong, where were they weak. Absolutely just trying to get a feel for it.
Now, of course, I want to hear all about that. But right now, I want to let people know about the topics we have for next week. What happened is that everybody on our Patreon had a bunch of suggestions. We took those suggestions and we made a poll over on patreon.com/RussoCoonTWC. Now, you do need to be a Patreon member to vote, but it's totally worth it. Be part of the show. Join up at patreon.com/RussoCoonTWC. Here are the 4 topics. The first topic, Vince and Ed, their partnership, their history, their process. Lots of questions about that. Topic 2, AJ Styles. Topic 3, The Brood. And topic 4, The Brawl for All, Dr. Death Steve Williams, and JR. Go head on over to patreon.com/RussoCoonTWC. And not only can you vote in the poll, but you get all kinds of bonus content. I think there's over 150 different things on there right now. Plus, you get episodes early and much bigger. This episode was probably about 30 or 40 minutes longer and also came about 5 days early. While you're at it, pick up a shirt at shirtsoftruth.com. Haziah over at What For Apparel is working hard around the clock to create some great shirts for us. None more popular than the Russo Club. WrestleMania's coming up. Double or Nothing's coming up. If you're going, show up in one of those shirts or go to live taping with one of our shirts the way our listeners have done before. That's shirtsoftruth.com. Don't forget to vote on our polls. So, Vince, the next thing that happened was that Jimmy Hart comes to the ring with Hugh Morris and Knobbs, and they challenge for a tag team match. Did you like Jimmy Hart on screen?
Oh, yeah, bro, of course. Yeah, I was a big time Jimmy Hart mark going way, way back to probably Andy Kaufman, bro.
And he wasn't utilized a whole bunch at this point in time in WCW. When you're looking at his name on the list, you're like, we got to get him on screen, or what is your thinking about?
Bro. Again, the thing with me, the ongoing thing you'll always see with me is uniqueness. Who's different, bro? Who doesn't look like an everyday person? That's what you're always going to get. Again, bro, to me, if you're on television, you should be special. You should look special. You should act special. When you talk, you sound special. Bro, there was nobody like Jimmy Hart.
The segment before this was Kimberly trying to seduce David Flair because DDP was out of town. Was that part of a new kind of arc you were coming up with the David Flair and DDP and Kimberly? Was that something you felt kind of had legs there? She gave David her room key. Anything you remember about that?
Yeah, I mean, it was, oh man, bro, I can't remember specifically. I mean, everything had a reason behind it. So we were going someplace with that, bro. I can't remember exactly where, but definitely, Kimberly needs to be on TV. She's drop dead gorgeous. She's more than a Nitro girl. Of course, Paige is Paige. You know what kind of an effort you're going to get from Paige. And I really wanted to develop something for David Flair.
With Morris and Knobs, was that someone you felt as a tag team would they're going to do Halloween Havoc that's coming up in a match? Was that something that was already set up? It doesn't seem very Vince Russo-esque.
Definitely set up. Definitely already set up. And, like I said, bro, Halloween Havoc was pretty much booked before we got there. So, we weren't really looking at that at all. That was already kind of in the books.
How did you balance wanting to start over with, trying to keep some kind of continuity going, because, like you said, Halloween Havoc was in the books. At the same time, you wanted to blow everything up and start over again. Where did you feel like that line was drawn as far as maybe keeping some continuity going?
Well, also, bro, at the same time, not having some guys available to us for Ready to Rumble. You know what I'm saying? So, bro, we were kind of trying to just, wash a couple of things out the first couple of weeks. And, like I said, Halloween Havoc, I believe, was already booked. So we're trying to keep those angles going, going into Halloween Havoc. But I think the idea is once Halloween Havoc is over, we could start new. The guys will be back from Ready to Rumble. So this was kind of like just a feeling out the first couple of weeks. What
did you feel like the deal was with Harlem Heat? They lose the titles, but they don't get the next shot. Did you have plans for them, or was it kind of a wait-and-see thing?
Oh, I definitely had plans for them, man. I didn't know. Again, bro, those weren't guys that needed to be, repackaged. I mean, those guys were over. Those guys looked the part. Those guys were solidified. Those guys were stars. So, we probably hadn't gotten to them yet because there were just so many guys that just needed to be developed in order to be players so we could put them on TV. Those guys are already players.
Next segment was Sid coming out without the lawyers. I guess he was supposed to come out with the lawyers, so he called out the lawyers. And they came out separately. They called out Goldberg. Goldberg speared the attorney who didn't know how to sell it. And then Sid powerbombed Goldberg and stuffed the contract in his mouth. You felt there was money to be made with this Goldberg Sid thing. It was something that was already set up. But Goldberg and Sid seems like a natural fit, right?
Oh, yeah, bro. Are you kidding me? Well, it's almost as natural as I would compare it to Brock Lesnar and Finn Balor. I mean, it's almost like it's that natural, bro. You know what I mean? Bro, look how far we've fallen. Freaking Goldberg and Sid. Goldberg and Sid to Brock Lesnar and Finn Balor.
All right, smart guy. So Braun can't do it. Who wrestles Brock at Royal Rumble?
Seriously.
Yeah, seriously. Who is it? Is it Drew? Is that who you put in the place?
Bro, they bro, can I tell you something? In their minds, they got these big plans for Drew McIntyre. They better have these plans for Drew McIntyre. In their minds, they got these big plans for the guy. They're going to ruin him before they even freaking get there. Okay, by the time they get to their big plans, he's not going to mean anything.
That's
God,
fair.
bro. Let me freaking book Drew McIntyre. Are you freaking kidding me?
Okay, so again, Braun cannot wrestle Brock. Who wrestles Brock at the Royal Rumble?
Drew McIntyre. Come on, bro.
You just do it right now. You don't just
right. You do it right freaking now, bro. They gotta fill out a stadium. You're gonna fill out a stadium with Finn Balor and freaking Brock Lesnar.
Well, they are.
Unless I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe the strategy is for Brock to get distracted by the outline of the cock and the balls. Now, that could be a storyline, bro.
Well, it's going to be the demon. But so when the demon comes out, the cock and balls are de-emphasized. Is that what you're saying?
Is that the whole thing, bro? It's the demon. So now because he put makeup on in the back, he can beat Brock Lesnar. Is that the gimmick?
It's a transformation, Vince. It's an evolution.
This is exactly what I'm talking about, bro. Exactly what I'm talking about.
Hugh Morris, I believe that's a Terry Taylor. Does that sound like a Terry Taylor?
I think it is. I think it is.
Have you heard of the wrestling architect idea that was pitched by Terry Taylor?
Which one is that?
Well, last name Ding, first name Bill.
I thought that was Disco.
Was it Disco?
I think it was Disco, yeah.
Bill Ding. Yeah. Bill. That's fantastic. Yeah. So, but Meng, Meng was interesting to me as a longtime wrestling fan. He was King Tonga in AWA. He was brought in this long line of people to make people forget about Jimmy Snuka and WWF. He wasn't really used as this big monster. Matter of fact, he looked small sometimes because he tagged with Andre. What do you think Meng could have done in the industry? Do you think he was used to the extent he could have been in his career?
No. I think he could have been used much, much more. I mean, bro, they gimmicked him up a little bit with the ring gear and whatnot. Yeah. God, if he was a certified killer, bro, and you really portrayed him as he was, he could have gotten over a lot more than he did.
What did you think about that long line of wrestlers they would bring in to make people forget about Snuka and WWF? They brought in the Tonga Kid, they brought in that CV Afi, and they brought in King Tonga. They never really got over the loss of Jimmy Snuka over there, did they?
No, never. No, you never would, bro. No, nobody's going to replace his shoes.
Yeah, for sure. I once got an autograph from him, before he died, but not that long before he died. And he signed an autograph. He talked to my son, and his gum fell out of his mouth while he was talking to us. I thought it was his tooth, man. And I freaked out. So now comes, after Sid powerbombs Goldberg, stuffs the contract in his mouth. That's a pretty cool thing. That's very Vince Russo-esque. Is that something that, Goldberg was kind of being a good soldier at this point, but maybe the second time you worked with him, if you presented this to him, he would have said, "Fuck you, I'm not doing it."
You're exactly right, bro. You are exactly right. Bro, so much of it with the guys, bro. So much of it with the boys. And again, bro, I'm just going to go back to the dirt sheets because this is the part of the business they'll never get and they'll never understand as much as they think they're part of the business and they're in the business. Bro, a big part of wrestling is like the guys getting in each other's ears. Bro, the guys get each other so worked up, and a lot of them are doing it as a rib, and a lot of them are doing it because it's funny, but that's what they do, bro. I guarantee you, bro, when you do the thing where Sid's stuffing a paper down Goldberg's mouth, he's going to the back, and you got somebody to saying to him, "Oh, bro, the first night he's here," and blah, blah, blah. That's how the business is, bro. They get in each other's ears. They work each other up. A lot of times they're doing it for their own entertainment, but stuff like that can really balloon out of hand.
How vulnerable was Goldberg to that kind of stuff, being this guy who was, compared to the other guys, a babe in the woods as far as the wrestling industry went. You know, he's listening to the Hulk Hogans and the Halls and the Nashes. How, vulnerable and naive was he that maybe he was getting worked, he was getting ribbed, he was being influenced in a negative way by those other guys?
Oh, bro, very, very, very vulnerable to that. I'm sure he could tell you that now. And I'm sure he would say that now, but back then he didn't know. Bro, these are the best workers in the world. Bro, I'm telling you, I had an advantage because I came from the outside world. I don't know, bro. Maybe it was a New York thing. I don't know. I know when I'm being worked. I know when you're full of shit. And I'm not going to tell you you're full of shit. I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to let you believe that you're working me. You ain't freaking working me, bro. So, I was very smart to that. But there were a lot of guys, bro, that were easily worked.
In that same segment, Hall and Nash came out. They were making fun of Goldberg from ringside, and he shoved them, and they had a pull apart. Hall and Nash were these. Did you handle them more delicately, with more deference, because they had such potential to be such troublemakers?
Bro, you didn't handle them. You didn't handle them. You didn't attempt to handle them. Vince Russo was not going to try to tell Hall and Nash how to act, what to do. The best way to handle that, bro, is to approach them. This is my idea. This is what I'd like to do. This is where I'd like to go, and then just let them go out there and get to the same exact place the way that they want to.
Of course, they're acting like they're drunk, but they're drunk on Robitussin.
Right.
And if you've got 6'10" Kevin Nash drunk, you've got 6'6" Scott Hall drunk. Who do you send, Vince? Who is the badass that escorts them out of the area? Who do you send?
Doug Dillinger.
Doug Dillinger. Who gets more screen time than Doug Dillinger? I tell you.
Nobody.
You told me on our Patreon that a lot of it sometimes is he does love getting on camera, right?
Oh, loves it. Loved it, bro. Loved it.
So, after that, we had Berlin versus Rick Steiner. We should have talked about Berlin. Berlin is not you, right? You did not come up with Berlin.
No. And he had a very, very high opinion of himself. I think he had heat with me early on because, bro, I don't think I had the same opinion of him that he had of himself. And I think he kind of knew that. And I think that kind of created a little heat early on.
Was he kind of the trailblazer in the cock and balls department as Alex Wright? Is he were you familiar with Alex Wright?
Yeah, that's a good. He may have been the cock and balls trailblazer. That's very good. Very good. You like saying the cock and the balls. I like saying cock and balls.
Rick Steiner, what was his place? Of course, maybe Scott Steiner was one of the ones you were missing that night. How did you feel? You're looking at the list. You see Rick Steiner come up. You know him because he's one of the Steiner brothers, and he's Rick Steiner. What did you feel like he could do? Where was his place in the whole, hierarchy?
And that was a tough one, bro, because Scott Steiner had really separated himself from the pack, before I got there. So that was a tough one, but. Again, bro, this was a legend that was in the category of could still go, but you could no longer tie Scott with him because Scott had already freaking exploded. And, Rick never had Scott's personality. Rick could cut a hell of a promo, but he never had Scott's personality. So that was a tough one. Bro, I'll tell you, man, one of my favorite all-time things, bro, at WCW, all-time favorite was the Varsity Club.
The match ended between Berlin and Rick Steiner when his bodyguard, who was unnamed and later became for sure Donald Trump's favorite wrestler, The Wall. There was, you like that, right?
Yeah.
He was someone that they said was in line for a big push. as, you know, a Kevin Nash Diesel type with Shawn Michaels. And he came out and he beat up Brad Armstrong, who was out there as well. What did you think of the Wall? Of course, he left us early. Was he one of these young guys you had your eye on?
Oh yeah, he you know, very, very green talent at the time. A lot of development, a lot needed to be done. I mean, because he was big, he was impressive, he looked like somebody, he had star quality, but he had to learn that whole other side with it, you know, the promos and the mic and the, you know, so like, yeah, he was definitely a work in progress.
Were you there when there was one episode of Nitro where I guess the money shot, the payoff shot was a camera shot of the Wall on top of a building? Do you remember that?
I don't remember.
It was supposed to be this big effective shot, but literally it was the camera a mile away, and you see this little tiny figure like a mile away. And it's
I don't remember
there's
that.
the Wall, but you couldn't even see where he was. Brad Armstrong, we talked about this on the Patreon about how, you know, he later on the next episode of Nitro said, I'm going to call up little brother, which is Brian Armstrong, Road Dogg, to find out how to get some personality. Did you see Brad Armstrong being an on-air character? I know he became
definitely want to give him the opportunity, bro. And I got to tell you, one thing that always rang out to me, maybe, and this is what I was thinking of, bro, I swear to God, I remember when Brian James was with the WWE and could not get himself a squash match. And every week, Vince, you know, Vince, please give me a chance. Give me a chance. Every single week, bro.
He was trying to be an extra. He couldn't even be an extra.
Yeah, anything. And then sure enough, you know, Road Dogg. And I think that was really, I was thinking about that subconsciously with his brother, that I'm not going to ever doubt an Armstrong again. You know what I mean, bro? Like there's something there. Yeah, I loved Bullet Bob, bro. I got to meet him, you know, at TNA and all that shit. And I love the guy. Bro, there's something about an Armstrong, like you can't doubt him. You know what I mean?
We talk about it over and over again, Vince, these second generation guys, right?
Yes.
You know,
they get it.
Yeah.
They get it. That's what used to drive me crazy with freaking Roman Reigns. Vince is trying to control every freaking action of this guy. This guy was raised in the business. He knows what to freaking do. Leave him the F alone. Let him go out and do it.
He's the son of a wild Samoan. Like,
that's what I'm saying, bro. My God, there are so many guys in the WWE I wished I got to produce.
Roman is one of them. And of course, my thoughts are with him often. I'm hoping he's doing just as good as can be. And I hope we don't forget about Roman. And I hope we always send him well wishes. And people on Twitter, don't forget about Roman, because he's all if you think about it, he's probably going through a tough time at this moment. Back to more fun things. Kimberly undressed expecting David Flair to be there, and she, for some reason, of course, reading from the Observer, was going to spike his drink. But instead, who comes out? And we laughed and laughed when we saw this in the hotel room. Who comes out, Vince?
Ric Flair. That was tremendous. Tremendous.
So then we have a backstage segment. And all it says here in the Observer is Goldberg killed the clowns.
Oh, that was the Insane Clown Posse?
He destroyed them.
I'm sure he did too, bro. I'm sure he did.
Was that a concern for you, Goldberg beating up talent even before he injured Bret Hart? Did you feel Goldberg needed some direction by some of the agents to say, "Hey, dude, it's not a shoot"?
Yeah, you know, bro, like that, I stayed away from that side. You know what I'm saying, bro? Once the shit goes down in the ring, if Goldberg's being too stiff or whatever, that's not for me to tell him, bro. Like, that is an agent thing. That's for the boys to smarten him up. That's not for me to tell him.
But as a human being and someone who works in the organization, I've watched wrestling with you. And when someone does something dangerous, you wince like I do. You know, oh God. Goldberg was responsible for a lot of winces, probably. Yeah.
I would say so.
Because we watched something recently. Oh, man, what was it? It was with Bret Hart. And he's just treating Bret Hart like a rag doll. And, you know, Does that go to the training? Like, that's something that should be addressed. Like, you don't feel any responsibility to say, hey, guys, can you make sure Goldberg doesn't kill Lex Luger because I need him next week?
Yeah, but, bro, that is on the training, bro, and that is on the agents, and that is on the boys telling them to, like, lighten up. That's just – it's not in my wheelhouse, bro. I'm not going to tell these guys how to work.
But it is your job to make sure that the windshield is made out of candy glass.
Exactly. Yes.
Got you. The next segment is Luger acting nervous about a match with Goldberg. Kidman beat David Flair with a shooting star press. We watched that match together on Patreon, and Kidman's knee hits David Flair right in the face. When those kind of things happened, were there ever like fights backstage where he goes, dude, you don't know what the hell you're doing, or you hurt me? Or what kind of reaction would that kind of thing get if it was a David Flair?
Sometimes, yeah. But, bro, a lot of stuff, back then, bro, it's like a lot of that stuff is closed door. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, you're not gonna, unless you're really hot and got really hurt, you're not gonna do it publicly. You're going to pull the guy aside in the back, and you're going to have a little man to like that. I heard many stories of like, that's how Undertaker would handle things. And like Taker would just tell you, he'd pull you aside in the back, and he would like just tell you, that's not going to happen again. Like that type of a thing. That's the way it would usually be handled.
We had another match where, or in the same match with Kidman and David Flair, where Tori Wilson opened up her coat, revealing the negligee, which they said was at least tame by WWF standards. And David Flair tried to get her to cover up. You're seeing, all the objectifying jokes we make aside. We make jokes about that, about how maybe Keller's overly critical about that. How big of a place did you feel having these beautiful women on TV as far as the Vince Russo kind of idea that people are switching channels? They see a Tori Wilson showing off a negligee, they're going to stop, right?
Bro, you want to know something, Matt? This is a God honest truth, okay?
Hello, ladies.
Matt, never in my life at any time was I a guy that would watch pornography. Okay, bro, like that doesn't do anything for me.
This is good. Go ahead. Keep going.
Naked women, naked. I'm talking naked with nothing on. That never did anything for me, bro. Like never. Bro, I don't know. It would have been tough for me in the wrestling business to work with as many beautiful women as I did with drop dead gorgeous bodies. It might have been difficult for me to do that if like that's the way I looked at women. Like, I looked at the bodies and I looked at the boobs and, oh my God, look at that ass. And oh my God, what I would do to her. Okay. It would have been very, very difficult for me to be around those type of women. I mean, and bro, I know people in the business that were that way, and it was difficult for them to be around those type of women. And I don't want to mention any names, but I think you know who I'm talking about. To this day, I've been married for 35 years, faithful to my wife, never looked at another woman. To this day, I love to look at sexy, beautiful women that are dressed sexy. You know what I love, bro? Here's an example of that. I love when beautiful actresses are like on talk shows. You know what I'm saying, bro? Because they always dress to the nines. They always look so sexy. There's the tease of cleavage, and, maybe there's the skirt with the little slit up the side. Like, I love sexy. To this day, I love sexy. I'm a huge Rihanna mark. I think Rihanna is the sexiest. Now, Rihanna has made herself available doing stuff with complete nudity. I mean, she did a video, Bitch Better Have My Money, completely nude. She's done magazine covers completely nude. Bro, I swear to God, when I see Rihanna like in the nude, I'm like, eh. But when I see her like on the red carpet and she's wearing something like sexy and shit. I love sexy. I love sexy. I always have. Freaking Goldilocks, bro. She's on my show on Realm every Tuesday. Bro, she'll wear a turtleneck and look as sexy as hell. I love sexy women. I never, bro, ever in my life looked at women as sex objects, ever.
But you may be relying on other people too if you're, having Tori, I mean, and you.
But that's sexy. See, that's a negligee is sexy to me, bro.
You and I watched that second episode on Patreon yesterday, and you and I both were like, wow, her abs, right? Tori.
Yeah, no, that's
beautiful.
That's sexy, bro. Like, that is sexy. I never had a problem with sexy. I don't have a problem with sexy to this day.
I find that easy to believe because, I think my all-time wrestling crush, even to this day, like, I just like take her out to dinner, is Mona, is Molly Holly. I just think there's something about her that's very attractive and very,
like
very
when
delightful.
you like the perfect example is I like to use, like, bro, the way Velvet Sky, like, merchandises herself and packages and brands herself. It's so effing sexy, bro. She did a Halloween shot where she's in a Freddy Krueger sweater and it's got like the claw marks through it. And then she'll wear like, a Yankee jersey. Oh my God, it's so freaking sexy. And you're just not, I'm not looking at it, oh my God, I like to bang her. I'm looking at it like, my God, what a beautiful, sexy woman. I mean, that's how I look at it.
Someone we've talked about in the last 5 minutes got me and Matt, hooked Matthew and I up for great WrestleMania seats last year. And sitting next to us was Velvet Sky.
Yeah,
and I was scared to look at her because even though her husband was about 200 yards away, I was scared to death. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what do you mean? He's not a husband.
Isn't Bully Ray her husband?
No, no. And not only that, I got a theory about that. I think that's a work because I don't think a woman like Velvet would ever date a Bully Ray. So I think that's a big. I think that's like fake Paul. I think that whole thing is a total work. She would never go out with him.
That comes from Vince Russo, not Matt Kuhn. I'm not trying to say, Bubba scares me. So we continue in this match, or continue in this card, and we're going to talk about how this goes to you ruining WCW. Mona beat Medusa in a stripper match after the Filthy Animals beat up David. It was called a stripper match. The fans booed this, Meltzer said, because Medusa was left in aerobics outfit and didn't wear an evening gown, and there was little to this match. By all accounts, we talked about it earlier. We had different views on it, but Medusa was actually angry about doing this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, she was. Yep.
And do you think maybe she wasn't playing ball if she wasn't wearing an evening gown? It seemed like at the time, was she just like, I ain't doing that shit?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And how would you have reacted to that? We're just like, all right, well.
I'm just like, I mean, bro, honestly, I love her to death and I still talk to her. Get over yourself. Like, come on, like, get over yourself. Like, you're an athlete. You have a beautiful body. You have an athletic body. Obviously, you've done some enhancements yourself on your own. Like, you're not beating anybody in wrestling matches. It's all script. Like, just get over yourself, bro. This is a TV show. Like, seriously, bro. Again, like, bro, I've worked with not many. But, bro, when wrestlers take themselves too seriously, you're going to have issues.
We had the match with Sting versus Bret Hart for the WCW title match. We watched this match. It was a really good match. Luger interfered, hit Hart in the ankle with a baseball bat, and Sting used the Scorpion for the tap out. For me watching this, these are your two guys. These are your headliners. These are the guys in the prime, Bret Hart and Sting, with maybe Goldberg being in the mix. Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah, throw Sid in there. Sid's definitely got a place in that. Absolutely, bro. These are the guys right now, like, still in the sweet spot of their career. Underutilized before I got there. These are the guys that you could call the main eventers that I know I could count on.
Meltzer goes on to say it was very good for a Sting match. Comment?
Come on, bro. He's a pompous ass.
Ric Flair showed up being mad about David being hurt and trying to find out who did it. And then you're going to laugh when I just read this to you. We saw it, but it was great. Hall and Nash wore Villanos masks, like the Villanos mask, and tried to talk Spanish. The idea was funny, Meltzer says, but like most of the segments, they went on too long. I disagree. I thought it was a home run. What did you think of Hall and Nash speaking Spanish?
Yeah, no, just tremendous, bro. Those guys get it, especially when they're together. So
now we have one of these segments that people have talked about a lot, where Bagwell was supposed to, quote unquote, do the job to, to kind of show that he was a company guy, and La Parka ended up beating him, but Bagwell very obviously makes a show of the fact that he's not happy and he's not, quote unquote, selling. And then as his punishment, Jeff Jarrett comes out, a surprise debut by Jeff Jarrett, and clocked Bagwell with his guitar. Let's talk about getting Jeff Jarrett. This was not something in the mix when you came over, was to get Jeff Jarrett, or when you came to WCW, you knew Jarrett was coming?
No. I didn't know he was coming. I mean, something. Well, I think the gimmick happened shortly after that. The Good Housekeeping. Remember when he held them up for money, and then all of a sudden he was available? Remember?
That was shortly after you left.
Yeah.
The fact that he was able to transition immediately to WCW was a result of a relationship with you, right?
Yeah, but I also think it was with me. But I also think too, like J.J. Dillon was talent relations. So he had a relationship with JJ. JJ was very tight with Jerry. So yeah. I mean, me and, like I said, had a good relationship with JJ too.
It seems like this whole Bagwell idea was kind of the outlier of the show, where it really was your attempt to break that fourth wall. Why Bagwell? Why was it Bagwell who was placed in this position where, if he was the company guy, he would do well? I think there was a shot of the other wrestlers cheering as he rebelled against you. Why set Bagwell up for this position?
Well, because I felt it was a pretty big spot, bro, and we were breaking the fourth wall, and this wasn't being done that often back then, and definitely had big plans for Buff. So I mean, I think that was a good spot for him.
Now, this is interesting because this is where Meltzer says at this point, this is where the show died because of this particular angle. But in a way, is that just saying the things that he enjoys about wrestling?
Hey, that's exactly what that's saying, bro. Meltzer didn't like it. So, well, this is where the show died for everybody. Dave, this is where the show died for you because you believe wrestling's real. Okay, bro? So now that we're telling people wrestling isn't real, the show is dying for you, bro, not everybody watching it.
The next point is a three-way match. You're getting everybody in. A three-way match, Chavo over Eddie and Saturn in 8:53, a longer match by Russo standards in WCW. It's funny because this kind of goes to what you're saying. What's your observation that Meltzer says there was no heat, but the wrestling was very good? That's kind of what you're saying, right?
That's it in a nutshell, bro. But that's the problem. Here's the problem. I gave them a wrestling match on the show. But today, every single match is like that. Not just one, every single match is that way. This was, you want a wrestling match? Here is a wrestling match. Here are some great wrestlers. We're going to give them some time. Here's your match. Every single match is like that in wrestling today.
We watched this match together, and when they did this superplex spot, where they stack it, and it ended really badly with everybody just collapsing in the ring. Did you say you stay away from these kind of things, but were you ever the kind of guy to say maybe don't go so crazy in this match, don't get hurt, that kind of thing? I know you did it in WWE. Did you do it in WCW?
Oh yeah, no, I always did it in WCW, but I did it when I was privy to the conversation of what they were laying out. If they were laying out something and I got to hear them go over their match and I thought something may be dangerous or maybe they didn't need to do something, like I would just give them my opinion. And then it's up to them whether they want to do it or not.
So at this point, you're booking guys, you have your big picture, but really isn't the point of this entire show to give everybody a look and to assess people?
Oh, definitely. Not just this show. I mean, the first couple of shows, we're just kind of getting our feel. We're still going head to head with the WWE, bro. So we want to write the best show we possibly can. But this is almost like a scouting, where we're almost like scouting to see what we have.
You would format the show, of course, and write it out, but would you change the formatting on the fly depending on what was going on at WWF at the time?
Never. Bro, do you know when Ed and I first physically showed up at a WCW building, I think the first one was Mississippi. I said I could be wrong. We walk into the building, and the first question I ask is, where's the production meeting? You know what the answer was?
There is no production meeting?
There is none. Bro, they didn't have production meetings the day of the show. They didn't even have production meetings the day of the show. See, that's why, it all goes back to, like, I don't forget things like Eric Bischoff making a comment, oh, Vince Russo's hard to work with. Yeah, bro, I'm hard to work with because this is a television show, and we need to have an hour-long production meeting. And then after that production meeting, we need to have an agents meeting. Like, that's what you do. You don't freaking sit in an office with Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash and write a freaking show and then come out 30 minutes before the show and give it to everybody. That's not the way you do it, bro. That's not going to fly over the long haul. You got to put the work in. You got to have a production meeting. You got to have an agents meeting. Everybody needs to be on board, and they need to know what the frick they're doing.
Tony Schiavone has said it not once, but several times, that the thing that he noticed when Vince Russo came in was it was much more professional. There were production meetings, there were plans, there were layouts, there was communication. It was much more like the WWF that Tony lamented leaving, mostly because it was more of a professional, pro, world-class organization. One of the things you try to do is bring that world-class type mentality and philosophy into WCW. And was that the source of part of your resistance that people gave you?
Oh, absolutely, bro. And the number of pre-tapes. Bro, these were guys that were getting paid a lot of money and weren't used to doing the work. All of a sudden, bro, you think you've got the night off and you're collecting your guaranteed pay, and Vince is telling you, oh, bro, we got to shoot 5 vignettes with you today. 5 vignettes? Wait, what do you? I'm not booked on the card. What do you mean 5? That's the mentality, bro. We want to get paid as much money as we can with doing as little work as possible. So the minute somebody like me comes along and says, no, bro, we're here to work. We're here to work. We're here to put together the best TV show that we can. Oh, then all of a sudden, you're hard to work with? Oh, bro, I'm hard to work with because I'm asking you to work.
And it's something I know about you is that you do like to work. How are you as far as, we talked about this a little bit before, I think not on Truth with Consequences. Do you think maybe you could have done better as far as shaking everybody's hand, doing the thing where you're doing the pull-asides with the people with the fragile egos? That wasn't something you were worried about at the time, but looking back, maybe that's a game you could have played to get what you
No,
wanted.
I think I did that, Matt. I think I did that. I really do, because I'm that kind of a guy. There's no question in my mind I did that, but you got to understand, while I'm doing that, I know who's already got their mind made up about me. So it doesn't matter. I'm going to shake your hand. We're going to go through the motion, the whole 9 yards. I already know what you're thinking. So I did that. There isn't a question in my mind that I didn't do that, bro. I'm not one of the boys, but in that sense, I'm one of the boys. I don't like being the boss. I don't look down on people. I don't want people to look up at me. I want to be in the freaking trenches. We're in this together. I did that, bro.
Maybe you didn't do as good of a job as you think you did, because when you look at Piper and, Piper, the fact that you didn't, really placate to his ego, you didn't really talk to him and kind of convince him to do stuff. You just wrote stuff down for him, and in his mind, that showed disrespect.
No, all of that is bullshit. Okay, Piper was upset because Ed Ferrara got to him before I did. And all that means is Ed saw Piper before I did. That's all that means. I'm doing my shit. Ed's doing his shit. Ed saw Piper before I did, so Ed went ahead and greeted Piper. That's all it was, bro. That's all it was.
And it's tough, man. You were just in such a tough position because you're dealing not with just some big egos, but some of the biggest egos in the history of this company. To think that someone thought that you hated them because Ed Ferrara met them before you did and made up his mind about you, that stuck to the very day that he died, regardless of what you said or did. That is an almost, you must look back and think, I was in an impossible situation.
Oh, bro, he in Piper's mind, I was making a power play. Bro, are you effing kidding? You're Roddy Piper, bro. You're Roddy freaking Piper. I've been watching you on freaking TV for, 20 years at that point. And all of a sudden, I'm going to make a power play. That's freaking insanity. And no matter what I said, bro, no matter what I did, that's what he was going to believe.
You had a match, this is a kind of a wrestling mainstay from the Attitude Days all the way to right now, where the segment before the main event segment is almost a throwaway. Is that fair to say?
Wait, say that again, Matt.
The segment before the third quarter hour of the last hour is usually kind of a throwaway segment to kind of set people up.
Nothing's a throwaway, bro. There's no throwaway. There's no throwaway segments.
So in your non-throwaway segment, you have Norman Smiley beating Horace Hogan in a hardcore match when Hogan knocked himself out. You're playing up the character of Smiley being kind of a total pussy, crying in the ring and that kind of thing. But to you, that was something to entertain the fans, the hardcore match with all the toys and all the trinkets and all that stuff.
Yeah, entertaining, a spectacle. I'm going to stop on that match. What's going on here? That type of thing. Yeah.
So what meetings or talks did you have with Ric Flair before when you came on board? Did you talk to him? Did you articulate your vision and everything?
Oh boy. I don't remember, Matt. I mean, I really, really, really don't remember. I mean, there's a chance I didn't go into long detail. I honestly don't remember what I told him early on.
You've talked many times to me on the air and off the air about the respect you have for Ric Flair.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Right? Like, Flair's the guy, right?
Bro, I'll never forget. Ric Flair came to me and said, you need to shave my head. And I was like, are you kidding? Like, bro, like, no way, like, bro, like, serious. I could not believe he suggested that to me. I'm like, bro, I can't do that. Like, bro, nah, Vince, you got her. It's great for the angle, blah, 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 blah. Bro, then I remember reading in his book, I think he said in his book, I suggested it to him. And I was like, bro, like never in my wildest dreams would I have said, Rick, I'm going to shave your head tonight. He suggested that to me, and I still didn't want to do it because of the respect I had for him.
Is this part of the Vince Russo line of people believe it's real or people take it too seriously? I was in the building, as I've told you, when Ric Flair had his head shaved. I was on the floor. It was in Richmond, and there was heat in the building. But is there a part of it where people think Vince Russo, the guy,
1,000%
shaved Ric Flair, the guy?
I guarantee you, Jim Cornette thinks that. I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, I guarantee you that's exactly what he thinks. Bro, never in my wildest dreams would I have suggested that to Ric Flair, ever.
And people are like, how dare Vince Russo think he can't carry Ric Flair's jockstrap, and he thinks he has the right to shave Ric Flair's head. But,
yes.
But that's not what happened.
Absolutely not.
Vince Russo, the character, shaved the character Ric Flair's head.
On his request.
So I say that because at the time, maybe you didn't have those communications with Ric Flair, and he's hearing things from people. And at this moment in the show, he shows up and challenged all the animals. They came out, beat the shit out of him, making him look like.
Well, bro, you gotta also look at. See, bro, you gotta put the pieces together. Who's Ric Flair very good friends with?
At the time, who are you getting at?
Jim Cornette.
They're close?
Very close. Jim Cornette was trying to bring Ric Flair into the WWE all those years, okay, because they had a close. So who is Ric Flair hearing from about Vince Russo? Bro, if you're hearing about Jim Cornette about Vince Russo, you're not getting a very good report.
And it's fair to say, without stirring things up, that Jim Cornette hates Vince Russo, right? But also Jim Cornette has a friendly relationship with Dave Meltzer as well. Is that accurate?
Yes, 100%.
And Flair doesn't exactly have a bad relationship with Dave Meltzer as well, right?
I don't know what that relationship is.
Yeah, I'm not either. I was just guessing. But just saying that, it's a lot of the same people talking to each other, even at the time, about what's going on. But meanwhile, Ric Flair, the legend, is being beat up by these four guys. They took his wallet, his watch, his rings. The following week, they take him to the desert. They kick dirt on him and pour beer on him and leave him out there. You know Ric Flair well enough that his ego off screen isn't necessarily synonymous with his ego on screen. Could you see where he would think, I'm literally being buried here. Why wouldn't I be figuratively being buried here?
I see that with other people in his ear. I totally see that with other people giving him, him getting preconceived notions about me from other people. I could see that, yes.
The last segment of the show, of course, Elizabeth was laid out. They showed Elizabeth laid out with a broken guitar. We've talked about how she took a terrible guitar shot later on. Either they didn't show the blow or they weren't allowed to show what kind of man-on-woman violence yet. Meltzer says, why would you just show that instead of doing the guitar shot at that time? Would you have tried to convince Elizabeth to take that guitar shot on camera?
Wait, so it looked like she was laid out in the back.
Right.
God, I can't remember because, it was just a couple of weeks later, Kimberly got hit with the guitar.
That's who I'm thinking of, Kimberly. But Elizabeth, you've told me, was very wary and very resistant to any kind of physicality.
Yeah, and you know what, too, bro? Honestly, Kimberly was an athlete. You know what I'm saying? And Kimberly was a lot bigger than Liz. So
like arms, man. She was very defined as an athlete.
Yeah, so Kimberly taking that and Miss Elizabeth taking it are two completely different things.
So the final segment of the show is Goldberg versus Luger. And Goldberg beat him with the spear and the jackhammer, but it ends up being kind of a schmoz, as they say, or clusterfuck, as they say. Hall and Nash and Sting came out. Bret Hart came out and got the bat, went to hit Sting with it, but he moved and the bat broke on the ring post. Hart put Sting in the Scorpion, but Luger broke it up and racked Hart. While racking Hart, Goldberg speared him to lead to the pin. A lot of people might think there's too much going on there, but you probably say, my God, who could change a channel from that?
Bro, that's the thing, bro. Like, too much going on because, bro, like, that's the wrestling freaking bubble. Bro, here's a perfect example. You know how sometimes, Matt, you watch a baseball game, a guy gets hit with a pitch. Okay, bro, right? All of a sudden, now both teams come on the field. Okay, bro, all of a sudden, one fight breaks out. Okay, bro? All of a sudden, like 2 fights are now breaking out. How many times do we see this? Do you think at that point the players are saying to each other, wait a minute, don't anybody else fight because there's too much going on right now. We've already got 2 fights going on. There's too much going on right now. That's the difference between me and these bubble people. Okay, bro? I deal in reality. Okay, if this were really happening, what would these players do? Bret Hart is not going to say, "Oh, maybe I shouldn't hit the ring because there's too much going on." That's all part of being in the freaking bubble, bro. You've got to protect the characters, and the characters have to react like they would react.
So we talked about this Nitro. And we're going to talk about this Nitro as far as what your first, foray into WCW and how it quote unquote ruined WCW, and then also talk about the greater kind of macro idea that you were responsible for WCW going, which I think we established at the onset of the show is kind of ridiculous. How did you feel about the show? This your first show. You really had more freedom in this show than you've ever had creatively. The show's over. What did you feel? And then what was the feedback?
I was very happy with the show. I thought we did a good job. I got to look at a lot of people. I think the show before this had actually done a 2.6. And this one did a 3.6. And I thought we gave them enough where they would come back the next week and get a little bit of more. I thought we changed the direction. I thought we changed the feel of the show and the excitement and the action. So I was very satisfied with this show.
Meltzer reviews the show to say that your fingerprints were very obvious on it. And time will tell, he says. But after the first show, my feeling was that when Nitro was in its heyday with the good undercard wrestling climaxing with the star power matches on top, it was a far better 3-hour show than this was. However, this was better than the majority, but not all of the recent Nitro shows. The throwing so many angles at people burns out the audience faster than wrestling matches do. And by late in the show, the crowd reactions were similar to Raw in that the crowd was dead for the wrestling. The show was very entertaining for the first hour, entertaining still for the second hour. By the third hour, even though there was nothing quote-unquote wrong with the show, it was evident this style of booking doesn't translate well into the 3-hour format. Fortunately, it appears likely, if not for certainty, that Nitro will be cut back to 2 hours in January. He didn't seem to hate you yet or hate your ideas yet, but he doesn't really seem like he's giving it a chance since he's saying a lot of good things about it, but he's editorializing it as bad.
Who's that, Meltzer?
Yes.
Yeah, no, yeah, bro, come on, bro, seriously, go back and look at the crowd reaction when Cock and Balls won that match. Come on, bro, will you please give me a freaking break, bro? Because that's the first thing I listen to. Let me hear the house explode when Cock and Balls wins the match. I hate to break the news to you, bro. There was no explosion.
I disagree. I think it was a bigger explosion than it would have been if anybody else won the match, right? Finn Balor, that is.
Yeah, depending on who your audience is, yes. Depending on the marks there, yes. But, bro, listen, unless you have a match like freaking Mysterios and Almost, is that his name, Almost? Almond?
Because of you butchering his name, they have now changed his name to Andrade.
And I'm supposed to be able to pronounce that?
Probably not.
And that's the thing, bro. When you have Eldrame and Rey, bro, Ray's going to make sure there's psychology in the match. Ray's old school. He's going to make sure there's psychology in the match. If you don't have that kind of level of excellence and the match is going on 20, 25 minutes or wrestling match, you're going to kill the freaking people, bro. You're going to kill the crowd. That's one thing I noticed about New Japan that I didn't like. They'll do oh my God, then they're so blown up. Now we're going to take a rest hold for 5 minutes. Okay, now that we got our breath back, okay, now we're going to lay down on the mat. Every single match is the same because they can't keep up that level. Whereas if the match relied on psychology and a story, you would have people hooked into the entire match.
So what assessment did you make of the talent? Did you have any aha moments? Do you have anything that happened to you in the first couple Nitros as far as the talent goes that may have shifted or changed your direction in any way?
No, nothing was going to change my direction. I knew, I knew what the veterans were thinking. I knew what was going through their heads. It doesn't matter. I've got a game plan. I'm sure, bro, I told them what their plan was. I'm also sure they didn't believe a word I said. I was not going to be able to change their mind. So there was nothing that I did not expect. I expected it to be a split locker room because that's what I had heard. So there was nothing that day that caught me by surprise, or I need to change this, or I need to tweak that. We had a plan. We laid out a plan to WCW management, and we were going to stick to that plan.
A lot's been made. Of course, you put out a lot of facts and figures about your ratings impact on Nitro. Talk a little bit about that, about the fact that during your weeks versus the weeks prior to that, that actually, for really, I know you say the ratings went up, but it's basically a flat line. It definitely didn't go down. Certainly not that same way that it went down from 1998 to 1999 when you weren't even there.
Well, bro, I don't think it flatlined. Look at the ratings again. The ratings were going up after the first, 13 weeks? Was it it? The first, 13 shows, right?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a flat line. They were going up, bro. I know the numbers, and I looked at the numbers. Was it going up slowly but surely? Yes. And that's exactly what I told WCW. It's going to take time. Bro, your ratings go up when you have months and months and months of good, consistent television. That's what it takes. Not a good show, then a bad show, good show, bad show. No, bro. You need to have months of good shows in order to increase the ratings. And in those 13 weeks, we were definitely on the right track.
With the ratings being what they were, they were much down from the year before. We have established the fact that the house show attendance was less than 50% of what it was when you came in. We're talking September 99. The attendance for the house shows, as we said before, was 3,155 in September 99 versus 8,000 in 1998. We have also talked about the fact that the ratings were significantly lower in September of 99 versus September of 99 versus September of 1998. And also the other thing that Meltzer likes to point to is the pay-per-view buys. We talked about Fall Brawl and Halloween Havoc as well being much lower from a year before. So why do people think Vince Russo killed WCW when things were definitely going in that direction, and hiring Vince Russo might have just been too little too late?
Okay, you got to stop with the people again. We're not talking about the people here. We're talking about the marks. We're not talking about the people.
We're talking about
marks and not people. Marks and
We're
marks.
talking about the people, because the people that you call marks, they say this, But among wrestling fans, Vince, and this is one of the things I want to do when I started working with you, is get the truth out. But among wrestling fans, casual fans, and also wrestling fans, they believe that Vince Russo killed WCW.
I don't believe casual fans believe that for a second, because they're smarter than that, bro. They know just the idea. We don't even have to get into anything. We don't have to get into anything. Just the idea of a writer of 9 months killed an entire company. Like, come on, like, bro, that notion is so freaking ridiculous. Anybody with a brain between their ears, once they hear that, they really don't have to hear anymore, because how does a writer kill a freaking bro? Come on.
Because here's why. Because that's not out there. The two things that aren't out there you mentioned, it's not conventional wisdom. It's not common knowledge. It is not common knowledge that you did not have full control of WCW. People think, and I'm saying people, not just marks, I'm saying wrestling fans like myself, people that have watched less of the product now than they did then, and who were very engaged in the product. They feel they don't know that you weren't in charge. I did not know you weren't in charge. The other thing is, people don't really understand the timeline. People don't know you only got 13 weeks in your first run. I think our job is to kind of educate people and clear them up to that fact.
What was it that made you believe I was in charge of everything? Like, I left the WWE as a writer. I was the head writer at WWE. Why would you believe I go to WCW now I'm in charge of everything?
Honestly, I think a lot of it is the way that it's phrased by the people who were writing the news at the time, right? I think the Russo regime, the Russo era, the Russo Nitros, that kind of language leads people to think he's not just writing, he's running the company.
Yeah, but bro, also at the time, you knew J.J. Dillon was there. So if I was running the company, there's no need for J.J. Dillon. You knew, it was known back then, Bill Bush was running the company. That was known. All that stuff was known back then. Those names were known back then. So I don't think it's a matter of, bro, people actually thought I was running the entire company, because Bill Bush's name was out there. Okay, bro? Keep in mind, bro, there was a time when Bischoff left, and before Russo came in, somebody was running that company. There was no Bischoff, there was no Russo. Someone was running that company. I don't think for a minute they think I was running everything from soup to nuts. I think they just want you to believe that this guy who we do not like, we do not agree with his wrestling psychology. We don't like the fact that he's a freaking New Yorker. We don't like the fact that he was never one of our stooges and always told us to F off. There are a million things we don't like about this guy. So we're going to convince you that this guy single-handedly tanked this company. I don't think there's one freaking person who legitimately believed I was running the entire show.
I'll disagree on a couple standpoints. I did not know the name Bill Bush until recently, until I started really researching this stuff. I know who Vince Russo is, and I think a lot of people do, but maybe another part of it is the sheets and the people putting the news out, and especially at the time, the explosion of the internet and people getting their news off the internet. Maybe there's a heightened view of where the booker stands in things, or where the writer stands in things. For all intents and purposes, you were the booker. You were putting the matches together. Because before that, I think people, even reading Death of WCW, they call it the Nash regime, the Sullivan regime. So maybe there's just too much import put onto the writers as far as the company doing well financially.
Well, obviously, I would disagree with that, because according to A&W, we don't need writers. We got the wrestlers. We got the wrestlers. The wrestlers are going to write the show, bro. We don't need writers. They're going to write the show.
So here's what I want everybody to do. I'm going to try to get as many people as I can to listen to this show and to explain to me how Vince Russo is responsible, not just for an industry, as Meltzer tweeted last night, but for the death of WCW. Russo, to me, does not, you can't meet that watermark of proving it in any regard. Vince, does it bother you at all when people say that about you? That you ruined WCW?
You know what bothers me? Here's what really bothers me, bro. I'll tell you, and here's where you and I are going to disagree.
Sure.
Here's what really bothers me. They're full of shit, and they know they're full of shit. They know they're full of shit, but now they can't go back. They know they're full of shit, bro. It has been proven, I mean, just over and over and over again. Like you said, bro, anybody, there is a graph out there. You could see January of 99 and just a flat line, to the bottom. Bro, I started there in October. So you got January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. 10 months. 10 months, that company was in a downward spiral before Vince Russo was ever near anything. Now, bro, I know what I'm walking into. Like, I know, bro, this is a downward spiral. We're not going to turn this around overnight. It's going to take at least a year. I know all of these things. But the fact of the matter is they've got to be – Meltzer's got to be brainless if he absolutely believes that. Because it is well documented, guys, Disco, who was on my in my committee, bro, all Vince did was write the show. Like, that's all he did. He had nothing to do with anything else. I mean, you have people saying he had nothing to do with it. I didn't know what people were making. I didn't know what people were getting paid. I never gave one freaking single person a contract. I never booked a house show. I never did any of that shit. But now Meltzer has gone so far out on the ledge, he can't come back. That's the part that pisses me off, bro, because all it takes is, you know what, bro? I was wrong. All he did was write the that's all you have to say. But the fact that you won't say it, that makes me have zero respect for you, bro.
You don't know people who have dug in on beliefs they have and they believe things that are not logical, because you're saying it's a purposeful thing. I'm saying I think he said the same things over and over again, that he believes it. And your standpoint is that he knows he's full of shit. He's digging in because he knows it's not true. And he has an agenda to prove you wrong. You don't think it's possible. He just believes
bro.
it.
Here's why I don't. Okay. If you believe he truly, truly believes it, right? What is your issue with having a conversation with me? If I believe that strongly about something and you have an opposite viewpoint, I am going to go face to face with you, bro. No, you are wrong. This is the way it was. I am not going to, if I believe that strongly in something, I'm not going to bat an eyelash. The fact that he won't ever have a conversation with me, that tells me right there, you are full of shit. Because if you believe with all your mind, body, and soul that a writer killed a company, you would have no problem having that conversation with me.
And that's going to bring to a close the subject of Vince Russo's plan to destroy WCW by bringing it better ratings and doing the absolute best he can with a bloated talent roster and a bloated payroll and a company that was, as Alvarez said, in dire straits. But let's go ahead and get to our closing segment now. Mr. Russo, your outrage of the week, your opinion of the week. I know what it is. I can already tell, even though we haven't talked about it. Go ahead and let's talk about your favorite root beer. A&W?
First of all, I know what's going to happen. I've been around the block enough. I've seen things. I've worked in every possible wrestling scenario, from Vince McMahon to WCW to Dixie Carter. I've done it all, bro. Okay, I've done it all. Everything this company has done out of the chute, they have done 100% incorrectly. First and foremost, okay, bro, the first thing the guy says is, we have $100 million. Bro, not a good idea to let wrestlers know you got $100 million. The fact that you say that tells me you have no idea what you're dealing with. When you tell wrestlers how much money you got in your pocket, you have no idea what you're dealing with. That's number one. Number two, you don't hire a wrestling guy first. You don't hire a Jim Ross first. You don't hire even an Eric Bischoff first that can tell you, well, this is the structure. This is what these guys are worth. This is how you should set up the contract. No, you're gonna let wrestlers negotiate contracts with you. Then let's go on. My son's gonna write the show. My son's going to write the show, and you had the audacity, Mr. Coon, to compare that to me? Sure. Are you out of your mind, bro? Sure. First of all, I got a degree in journalism. Second of all, I worked for legitimate newspapers. Third of all, I was editor of the magazine. Fourth of all, Vince McMahon brought me through every phase of writing. Personally, bro, every stage before I wrote my very first script. And you know what, bro? I can't even get pissed off at the comment, oh, we don't need writers. The wrestlers are going to do that. The wrestlers are going to be the writers. Yeah, bro, you're trying to get a television deal to be a television show on a television network, but you don't need any television writers. Do you understand how illogical and freaking asinine that is, that we don't need writers? Bro, who's going to format the show? Who's going to structure the show? Who's going to dot the I's and cross the T's? Who's going to have cliffhangers, bro? Who's going to have teases going in and out of commercials? Do you have any clue in your head what it takes to write a freaking TV show? What, you and the Young Bucks, bro? You're going to sit there around a table and you're going to format a show? Bro, you know how insulting that is to me? You know, that's like me saying, hey, bro, a wrestling show doesn't need any writers, any wrestlers. The writers will wrestle. It's the same. It's as asinine as saying, bro, we don't need wrestlers. The writers will wrestle on the show. It's that freaking asinine. And that tells me, bro, I don't give a shit. Think that. Don't have writers. Do whatever the freak you want to do. You know what you're going to be, bro? You're going to be Ring of Honor 2. And if that's enough for you to make a living, then knock yourselves out. You guys don't have a clue. You're not hiring the right people. It's the typical wrestling bullshit. We got a money mark. We're going to get as much money as we can from the money mark, and we're going to let the money mark know, oh, you don't want to hire a Vince Russo, or you don't want to hire this guy, or you don't want to hire that guy. Bro, it's been laid out the first 2 weeks that they said there's a new game in town. Okay, it's typical wrestling 101.
So there's a lot there. You were on a roll, so you kept going with it. Let's go to the end part before we'll go a little point by point. The show's running a little bit long, but I think this is on the tips of the tongues of every wrestling fan right now. When you say they're going to be Ring of Honor 2.0, how do you quantify that? Like, what do you think a year from now? It's January 2019, so January 2020. Where do you feel like they will be? What kind of TV deal do you think they'll have? What kind of houses you think they'll draw? When you say Ring of Honor 2.0 as a kind of a way to kind of marginalize them, where do you see that? What do you see that as?
I see them being another wrestling company, bro. I see them being an Impact, a Ring of Honor, an NWO, an NWA. I see them being another wrestling company based on what they've said thus far. Bro, there are two things that are going to change wrestling. I'm telling you right now, two things. Number one, it becomes reality based. None of this cartoon freaking flipping over cars and roaring like a effing lion. Okay, bro? So number one, it's got to become reality based. Or number two, the wrestling's got to become real. You got to go in the ring and shoot. Like, kick each other in the faces for real. That will draw people. Outside of those two things, wins and losses in fake fights is not going to change the wrestling business.
I'm going to disagree, as you probably would guess, on almost everything you said. I think a year from now, I think they're going to be the second biggest company in the world. That's my prediction. And
okay, I'll agree with that. So what does that entail? I mean, right now, Ring of Honor is the second biggest wrestling company in the world.
In 1 year, to do that, and also the momentum will be growing, and they will have a good TV deal. They will have better ratings than, say, a Ring of Honor, than, say, an Impact. They will make an impact. And to go back to a couple of your points, you know, this is a businessman. This is a guy who makes money. He is not going into this as a mark, as someone who's not going to make money. He is looking at the bottom line of everything he's doing. When you look at Cody and all of them, you said he can't make it on the big stage. I say he wasn't given opportunity to make it on the big stage. And I've seen him do so much right over the last few years to put himself in this position. There's nothing to say that they can't put themselves in a position. As far as the Bucks and Cody being creative, you know, they created something off of a YouTube show with angles and gimmicks and characters that was so strong that they were able to sell out a 10,000 seat arena in less than half an hour. Now, I know you're saying those are the marks, but I don't see any reason that can be. And also, their audience is outside the wrestling norm. It's not the marks. It's a lot of people drawn in by the rock star qualities of Cody and the Bucks and Jericho, and also, if it comes to pass, Kenny Omega and Marty Scurll. They have a lot of good people, and you're saying they bring in wrestling people, but these are a lot of the same people that you've said that it was old school thought that maybe it needed to be different. I think it's going to be different, but different in a way that you don't appreciate.
Well, the people I said to bring in, I'm talking about from a business standpoint. There's no old school, young school when it comes to business. Okay, JR could tell you what wrestlers are worth. Whether he's 70 years old or 30 years old, he can tell you on the open market, this is what you can get these guys for. So there's no old school, new school when it comes to negotiating contracts. That's business. That's never going to change. If I'm getting in a new game, okay, bro, if I'm getting in a new game and I know the wrestling business, if I'm getting in a new game, here's the first thing I'm doing. I'm hiring, the first hire I'm making is somebody that knows the game. Okay, somebody that has years and years of experience in the game. That's the first thing I'm doing. Next thing I'm doing is I'm not going out in front of the camera, and I'm not talking about wins and losses and this and that, because you got a guy like Vince Russo sitting at home saying, what the F do you know about wrestling, bro? Everything you're saying now, Cody, the Bucks, whoever the hell else has put in your mind. You know nothing about wrestling. You've not been in the wrestling business, and you're telling me you know you're clueless because you think wins and losses mean something in fake fights.
They do mean something in fake fights. Wins and losses definitely mean something in fake fights. You've talked about having to protect people before. Roddy Piper was a legend because he never went on his back for years and years. Hulk Hogan was protected for years and years. How do you're just about to leave, aren't you?
If wins and losses mean something in fake fights, how is cock and balls in the main event against Brock Lesnar when I've seen him lose 20 times on freaking Raw?
If wins and losses meant something in fake fights, maybe people.
No, but if they do mean something, the guy's lost 20 times. Right. So if that means something, how is he in the main event at Royal Rumble?
The statement is the fact that it's not meaning anything. Agreeing with you, the fact that it's not meaning anything is the problem with the product today. The fact that he has lost 20 times and he's in the pay-per-view main event. They're saying they're going to make him mean something so that if a Finn Balor gets to the main event in a stadium show, it's the result of a plan with the wins and losses in the fake fights, as you call them.
Matt, listen to me, please. Listen to me. Okay. Wrestling is dead. It is dead. The wrestling business killed the wrestling business. UFC came along. They took the pay-per-view market from the WWE. Wrestling never changed its stripes. Okay, bro? As television became more real, reality-based, real, they remained in the wrestling bubble. By doing so, they lost the millions and millions of casual fans watching because it became a joke. Nobody believes this shit. The guys the size of Finn Balor should not be in freaking main events. You lost the casual audience. All you're left with now is 2 to 2.5 million people that are wrestling fans. That's your audience. That's what you're left with. In order to have a successful business, you're going to have to grow beyond that. You're going to have to expand your audience, grow your audience. You're not going to grow your audience through wins and freaking losses, Matt.
With those guys, you can. With those guys, you are. Those guys have figured out the marketing. Those guys have figured out how to appeal. And I'll make another prediction, is that a year from now, Cody, probably maybe the Bucks, Omega, All Elite Wrestling will be relevant and will be a force in pop culture outside of wrestling. I believe that.
I respect your belief. I think you're out of your mind, bro. Wrestling, bro, let me tell you something. Let me get out of the bubble for you for a second. Wrestling is so effing uncool. Bro, if you think the Young Bucks are cool, you're out of your mind. I see the Young Bucks, bro. I see two very dorky guys. Okay, that's what I see. Cody Rhodes, all of a sudden, bro, Cody Rhodes is cool because he dyes his hair blonde and he wears a suit and tie. Okay, bro, that's great if you want to believe that. No casual fan, no non-wrestling mark thinks these guys are uncool, are cool. Not for a second.
That's kids these days, because what you don't get about the Bucks is that they're dorky guys who know they're dorky guys. That's what makes it cool. The kids today, the 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds today, they are so post-ironic. They know what irony is, and it flies off of them because they already know. The Bucks and Cody and Skrull, it's tongue-in-cheek. And for you take it as them trying to be cool, but in actuality, you're not in on the joke. And
bro, if it's hold on, exactly. That's my point. I'm in the business, bro, and I'm not in on the joke. So if they're not getting the joke over to me, who's in the business, obviously they're not doing a very good job, bro, because they come across to me like freaking dorks. Not that, oh, bro, we're dorks because we're supposed to be dorks. No, bro, that's not how it's coming across to me. And I'm in the business. It's coming across to me like you guys are freaking dorks.
You're in the business, but you're a 58-year-old man. I'm a 46-year-old man, and I would not get it. I would not get the Bucks. I would not get Skrull. I would not get Hangman. I would not get these guys if I didn't have a kid who not just digs the matches, he digs the characters. It's the characters of Hangman. Hangman walking around StarCast all weekend long without shoes, and somebody comes up to him and they go, "Where are your cowboy boots?" And he's like, "I don't own cowboy boots." I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. Matthew clued me in because of what goes on in their YouTube show. Marty.
All right, bro. So I'm a 58-year-old man, and I don't understand. I don't understand that Michael Scott on The Office is a dork. I don't understand that because I'm 58. Like, what do you said, bro? They're not doing a very good job. It doesn't. I could be 68. I could be 70. If I don't understand that these characters are dorks, that's got nothing to do with my age, bro. That's got to do with you're not doing a very good job of getting that across. It's got nothing. I could be 100, bro.
To you, and I'm not saying that they're dorks. I'm saying they embrace that character that you think is dorky, and they embrace it and they accept it and they own it, and everybody's in on it when they're I definitely think it's an age thing because I'm in the same bubble you are as far as that goes. I think it's just like music. And I can only tell you what I've seen up close and personal. These guys are rock stars, and I believe that 100%. I know when they bring on someone like Chris Daniels to you, you're like, well, maybe they don't get it. But I think it just remains to be seen, Vince. And I think,
bro, I just can't believe you. Bro, my son Will is 30 years old. Okay. He's been around the business for a long time. He works for freaking Page. Okay, bro. There's a guy that works for DDP Yoga that he's just started his own wrestling promotion. Okay, so he asked my son to go shoot the shows and everything. The style of his show is very similar to the style of today. My son shots the show. My son is involved in wrestling every day. He's 30, not 58. And he's like, bro, this is the most ridiculous, childish, silly, non-believable, stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life.
You can't put all this stuff under the same umbrella, though. That's not these guys. These guys get that. These guys are aware of the criticisms. Tony Khan is aware of Dixie Carter. They've learned the lessons that have come in the past. And I think
obviously they haven't learned the lessons that came in the past, Matt. If you just gave Chris Jericho pushing 50 a contract for more money than he's ever made in his life, don't tell me you learn from past mistakes. And that's exactly what Chris Jericho should do. I have nothing wrong with that. Don't tell me he learned from Dixie Carter, because that's the first thing you wouldn't do, Matt. That's the first thing you wouldn't do. Don't tell me that.
Chris Jericho is the biggest. I mean, who's a bigger wrestling star in the world besides John Cena than Chris Jericho right now? Who would bring them more looks and more buys and more credibility than a Chris Jericho? He's a mainstream name. He's got still credibility all across the board, from Attitude Era to all the way into the new school wrestling. He's a great hire, and he's kind of the Hulk Hogan in the NWO at this point.
Bro,
you're just gonna.
Did you watch the Jericho interview that I'm talking about?
I haven't seen it yet.
Watch it, because even Chris Jericho is coming across like, I can't believe how much money they paid me. Okay, watch it, bro. I'm not denying any of those things. I'm not denying one single one of those things that you said. But, I mean, come on, Matt. You don't tell the boys I have $100 million.
I would say that this is a guy who knows that and does it anyway because this is his straightest line to making money in the wrestling.
Bro, the wins and losses, which got fed to him. My son's now writing the show, and we don't need writers. The wrestlers are going to write. Are you kidding me?
But these guys make money in fields they don't know anything about. Tony Khan makes money in soccer. It's not like he's a soccer player. You're saying wrestling's different, but business is business. These guys know how to make money.
All right, we'll see.
We will see, and we can agree to disagree. And of course, at the very core of it, I'm a wrestling fan. You're a wrestling legend. And so I am, my job is to say what I feel. I'm never not going to say what I feel. But at the same time, I'm not disrespecting you in any way by saying I disagree with you. I think people can agree to disagree.
That's fine. And we don't need writers. The wrestlers are going to write. Are you kidding me? I need more than that to know you don't know what the F you're talking about.
But these guys make money in fields they don't know anything about. Tony Khan makes money in soccer. It's not like he's a soccer player. You're saying wrestling's different, but business is business. These guys know how to make money.
All right, we'll see.
We will see, and we can agree to disagree. And of course, at the very core of it, I'm a wrestling fan. You're a wrestling legend. And so I am, my job is to say what I feel. I'm never not going to say what I feel. But at the same time, I'm not disrespecting you in any way by saying I disagree with you. I think people can agree to disagree.
Yeah, bro, anybody can make money if you're handed a $1 billion freaking trust fund. And I could make money if somebody gave me $1 million.
You said you're a bad businessman. Do you think you really could make money if you were given $1 million?
No.
Well, thank you this week for joining us on Truth with Consequences. I think, again, I always say this, but I believe it. This was our best show. Make sure to check out Vince Russo on the Realm Network because, as you can tell, he's got a lot of things to say. Of course, it's Russo's brand. What's going on Russo's brand these days, Vince?
Russo's brand, bro, 10 shows a week, bro, a different show every day with people that actually did something in the wrestling business, like Big Vito LaGrasso, Stevie Richards, the great Big Hameen, who worked with bro, you're talking about Ben Hameen at OVW. A lot of people don't know this. Bro, we're talking about John Cena. We're talking about Randy Orton. We're talking about Dave Bautista. We're talking about Brock Lesnar. Those are the people that he helped train and develop at OVW. Then, of course, we have the Disco Inferno, castrating the marks. 10 shows a week for less than $1 a week, bro. Just go to russosbrand.com.
And make sure to support us over on our Patreon, patreon.com/RussoKoon with a K, .com. And also check out our YouTube and our Facebook and all that good stuff. Vince, I hope you have a great week. Thanks for joining us on the show. And I think we can agree on one thing. Vince Russo did not kill WCW. Agree?
Agreed, and I think we can agree on one other thing.
Cock and balls?
You gave me a massive headache right now, just now.
I'm so sorry, Vince. We'll see you next week on Truth with Consequences.